sun goes down and the moon comes up, I turn into a teenage Goo Mob. Yeah, I cruise through the city and I roam the streets, looking for something that is nice to eat. You better duck when I show up. The Goo Goo Mob.
And here we are.
Where are we exactly?
The abyss. I have no idea. Right now, let's go take a little visit over to, I don't know, what's the name of that damn school?
Nevermore Academy.
Nevermore Academy. I think that's where we're headed right now.
And if you didn't realize, people, this is Death Holler. You have not lapsed into some alternate reality. That is La Urena that is speaking, and I am the Reverend Dr. Death.
Yes, and we have my hubby here to join in and give his input as usual.
I feel like I'm Lurch.
Do you?
Yep. Unseen and rarely speaks.
Big and brooding.
Yep. Yes. I should respond to all the statements. What's your opinion? Yes.
I mean, it probably works. It works if I'm speaking.
Okay.
Not sure about the Reverend. Anyways, well, we're here with a special presentation because we have to talk about The Elephant on Netflix, which is Wednesday. We all... husband watched this... Was it Thanksgiving?
The day before.
Day before. Reverend, when did you catch it?
I literally started watching it last week, and I finished up this week. I say last week. It was technically Sunday, so yeah, it would have been Sunday of last week, and then finished it up, I believe, Friday night. Yeah,
it wasn't long after watching this. Well, I watched it the first time, literally, like saw some scenes while the hubby's watching it, and then dreamt the entire thing. And there were actually, I think the very last 2 episodes were the only ones I didn't dream, but I think I wasn't actually dreaming when he was watching those. I think I was awake and somewhere else in the house. So there's no way I could have even visioned it in my head. But there's a lot of things that I clearly missed being asleep the first time, but a lot of things that I actually fucking got, which was pretty hilarious. And then I watched it awake, fully awake. So I don't know if you count that a first or a second time. But I did watch it in its entirety, and then I was like, okay, we have to review this. This is, we can't skip this. We have to do it while it's hot.
Yeah, since that is literally all that is on TikTok right now. I mean, every other thing that I scroll through is something about the show. I know more trivia about the show than, I've not even read anything about it just from scrolling through TikTok. So.
Oh my God. So yeah, it's funny because I didn't see anything on TikTok until I watched it. Maybe I watched it a little too early, but all I'm seeing on TikTok right now is the dance.
There's the dance. They talk, there's plenty of trivia about, where she chose her inspirations for that.
Yeah.
There's some trivia about like the direction that Burton gave her as far as like, not to blink ever, or if she could help. There's a couple times in the show, if you watch, you can see her blink, but that's like 2 times out of the entire runtime. So she took that to heart. And then the other bit of trivia that I've heard recently, like I was scrolling through, and there's just the nature of how granular they're getting with all this stuff, is that for her like particular like hairstyle, that was totally a Tim Burton thing too, because she came in made up, which you sent a video of where they were doing the makeup, I believe, and it took forever to get that done. But even with that, when she came in, he still didn't like how her bangs looked, so he sat there and combed for up to 30 minutes, like particular strands of hair off to one side or the other. And then when he got to the point where he actually liked it, they sprayed it down with this hairspray, and it stayed that way for like 2 or 3 more episodes or something, is what she said. Like basically, like that's how much he loaded it down.
Can I be Jenna Ortega? Can I get my hair brushed by Tim Burton? What the fuck? What do you have to do right in life to get that kind of treatment?
be one of Tim Burton's muses and not have to be married to him, which is the best of both worlds, I guess. And Jenna Ortega's living that life right now. So
I guess. Isn't his current muse the woman who was in Dark Shadows? She played the vampire woman.
you're talking about Eva Green?
Yeah, I was going to say Ava Green, but Eva Green, I think she's his current muse, although I haven't seen much of her recently, and it's hard to tell.
She stepped back from acting or something for the moment. I don't know why, and it's kind of bad. I mean, she is a very attractive goth woman. So, I mean, which fits his mold, but also, it kind of stinks that she's not, but there's probably no roles for her. After that, Mrs. Peregrine's School for Whatever came out and didn't really do that well. I think that kind of killed off her career for a bit, plus COVID and everything else.
Yeah, well, the problem that I'm foreseeing is that when Tim Burton gets a new muse, the other ones kind of just fade away. I mean, he'll still do work with them. I know he still did work with his ex. Oh God, why can't I think of her name? The one he has
Helena Bonham Carter.
Helena, yeah, the one he has his bastard children with. So
they're not technically bastard children. Well, they might have been born out of wedlock, but they were married for a bit. I did find that out. So.
Oh shit! Is that part of trivia?
I guess you could throw that in as trivia. We was talking about Cody off air again. He was one that brought that up to me. He's like, I want to give one clarification. They were technically married. I'm like,
that's so weird.
I thought I wasn't crazy.
I've read so many articles because she was in The Crown, and they bring up Tim Burton a lot. She brings up Tim Burton very recently because she finally started opening up about them being together. And every article had said, they were never technically married. They did call each other husband and wife. That's what I got from the articles I read. So it's hard to say, honestly. I'd like to believe they were married. I mean, whatever. But I guess we should move on and move forward with this Wednesday discussion. We are talking about Wednesday, directed by Tim Burton, James Marshall, Ganja Montero, written by Charles Adams, who created the characters, Miles Millar, Alfred Goh, April Blair, Kayla Alpert, and Matt Lambert. Music by, oh my God, everybody, Gird Your Loins, Danny Elfman, which this was a different Danny Elfman. It didn't sound like
you don't pick up as much of him from this show as you would typically.
Yeah, but I liked it. I'm gonna spoiler alert already. I mean, it was cool. It was nice to be like, it didn't sound like just the same shit every day, which I don't know. I don't think we'd care with Danny Elfman. And Chris Bacon, I had to throw him in there. Principal players, Jenna Ortega, Wednesday Addams, if you have been living under a rock. The main protagonist, borderline serial killer. Feel like we have one of those in our house. She's known most for, well, I wouldn't say most for, because it depends on where you are on the Jenna Ortega hotness scale, but she was in Scream 5. That was one of her, people claim, first leading role. The Babysitter, Killer Queen, X, which a lot of fans from X that loved her sex scene so much, they were so excited to see her on Wednesday, which I find that to be creepy.
Explain why it's creepy, because we had this conversation yesterday.
Because in X, she's an adult. And in Wednesday, she is not playing an adult. So what about a sex scene in X makes you excited to see a 16-year-old schoolgirl?
Well, if we know that she's 20, then why does it matter if she's playing a 16-year-old?
It's just weird.
I know, but...
Think that Jenna Ortega is sexy in X. Don't think she's sexy in Wednesday. I don't want to go on to that conversation. Studio 666. I did not know she was in that.
I've not seen it yet, but yeah, I saw that whenever I was going through IMDb, and I was like, well, I have to throw that in there because that's, pretty recent too. It seems like she's establishing a career as a scream queen, kind of.
About Camp 666?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just going to say that I only knew about that upon going through her IMDb because I didn't know that she was in that. I've not seen it yet. I've been meaning to get around to watching it.
We were supposed to watch it. We talked about it in Devil Season.
Yeah, but then it never really came around anywhere, and then had to wait forever for it to actually be on any kind of media or streaming or anything like that. It was already 2 seasons past whenever it finally made its debut, I feel like, on anything other than select theater engagements.
which kind of sucks. Insidious Chapter 2, did not know.
I didn't know. I didn't realize she was in that either. I gotta go back and watch that movie. The only thing I really remember about that movie is I was severely disappointed at the end of it whenever they give the big reveal about who the hag woman is that he keeps seeing in the other, and it's like some man like spirit or something like that. It's like a transsexual or something, and I'm just like, what the is this?
I know we laughed a little bit when we talked about it, and we were discussing how a man had played that character. But these men that do dress up as scary women characters do it really well. I'm sorry, they do.
Isn't the nun character in the Conjuring movies or the Conjuring universe? Isn't that played by a guy as well? I'm pretty sure it is.
I don't think that one is. If it's not, or excuse me, if it is, there is a woman they are claiming plays the nun that I've seen, and it looks just like the nun. She looks like her.
Oh, by the way, in 2023, a little bit of trivia, The Nun 2 comes out. Not that I was clamoring for that, but it is coming out next year.
I know the kids like The Nun, so I know we're probably going to go see it. So
there were parts of the Nun movie, this is the tangent, that were okay. But then, like, the majority of it was just being, like, bored to tears, and it was kind of weird because then they had, like, the Farminga's sister, the one who plays Lorraine Warren, they had her sister playing like one of the main characters of the Nun. So I don't know. It was kind of odd too seeing that connection. But anyways,
yeah,
back to Wednesday.
Well, we're going on that tangent because La Irena, I liked it. I was on edge the whole time, but that's a Catholic thing.
Yeah,
it just is. So, Dead Time Stories, Iron Man 3. I see you didn't include any of her Disney roles in here.
Well, I didn't want to take up forever with a ton of, all that stuff. I just wanted to focus, because I was like, there is so much horror stuff that she's done.
Yeah.
Like, that's like a whole section by itself.
Well,
and I think she's going to continue in the Scream movies because she's in 6. So,
yeah.
It's, she's got, that stuff going on, and she might even, I don't know, she might play another character in, it's not listed, but I could see Ty West bringing her back if she wants to work with him again after X. Because she was in that, and he usually, he has some of the same people working for him throughout different movies.
Yeah, I think,
or at least Mia Goth is.
She's got her hooks in pretty hard with these creators. I think that was her goal as soon as she was out of the Disney realm. Well, I think she wanted to break out of the Disney realm. I think Disney was a nice little stepping stone for her to start her career. And then now she wants to be primarily in the horror genre, and she's got Tim Burton on her side now. He's going to keep her. She's always going to have a job with him now. And she's done animation. So, like, if he makes an animated film, she's going to be in one of those probably.
Do we want to... this is informal. We've not really made up a plan on how to attack this. Do we want to discuss like our opinions on the actors and actresses as we just go through the list of them? Because I feel like we might as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're gonna.
Because what I was going to mention is that I feel like Wednesday, of all the things that I've seen Jenna Ortega in, proves how good of an actress she is, because she is basically told to play an emotionless character that never blinks, yet somehow she still conveys emotion just through the use of her damn eyes. She can't even move her face muscles, because then that would, if there's any smile, it's just barely there, but like her eyes is what really shows it. So, and that's tough. It's one thing to, for a person to overact. It's another to tell a person they can't act at all, or, but like, it's not, I've heard the complaint by people. It's like, well, I don't really feel like there's much acting going on in this show. And it's like, that's the problem. You're overlooking the fact that it's so subtle that, she's acting her ass off with what little range she's been given for that character.
Well, she claims that Wednesday is her personality. Like, she is emotionless, and I'm not buying that.
She smiles too much in interviews.
Yeah.
That's not her.
She's excited in her interviews, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And I don't think it adds to her portrayal to Wednesday by saying, "Oh, well, that's who I am. I don't care how you become Wednesday, if that's really how you are or not, but I'm just saying I'm not buying it unless she's acting every day when she's out in Hollywood and doing these interviews, and then she goes home and she's just, bland and straight faced and pan faced and nothing and no emotion, and I don't think so. Is all I'm getting at.
No, I mean, that's actually underselling her talent in the show. I mean, the fact that she's saying that, because I've seen her in the other movies, X and, Scream 5 in particular, I feel like this past year, because she's really broke out within, 2022.
Yeah.
And in both of them, there's a lot more emoting and stuff like that she's doing, and in this, the only emoting she can do whatsoever is just by her glances and just like, even at times, just like the widening or, tightening of her eyes. That's literally the only way you can tell that she's like some of these guys that Wednesday's, when she's showing that she's affectionate for one of them, it's just a little bit. If there's any smile whatsoever, it's the very faintest smile, but it's all in her eyes. It's like, that's where you see it at.
Would you agree that at the ages of, I believe, 9 to, I don't know exactly what age Christina Ricci was when she first portrayed Wednesday, but she was 14 when she portrayed her in Addams Family Values. Would you agree that she was the same as well?
But yes, you can tell that Tim Burton based his version of Wednesday off of the Wednesday and Addams Family Values, because like I did see this comparison on TikTok. Somebody was saying that apparently there's a complaint that Wednesday is supposed to be a happy character.
Yeah.
And they're basing that off of the 1950s or 60s, whenever it came out. I think it might have been the 60s sitcom. And yes, that little girl was like more smiley and stuff like that. But that's because the TV censors at the time made them lighten the show up from Charles Addams comics, and wouldn't allow them to portray them as dark as they were. And then let's see, I can't remember the guy's name, Sonnenfeld, or Barry Sonnenfeld, who did the directing for the Addams Family Values in the 90s, took them back to the roots as far as the darkness, and Tim Burton's playing off of that more than he is, the original show.
What? So surprised. All right, let's move on just a little bit. I don't think we'll have a lot to say about this, but Victor Dorobantu as Thing.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing I have to say is, do you think it was just as expensive to put him in a green suit, I imagine is what they did, and edit everything?
Green or blue. That's another bit of trivia I think I've picked up along the way.
Okay.
Depending on if it was a daytime scene, it had to be blue because there's more blue light filtering in, so that played better.
Okay, and so they had to edit everything around him. How much more or less do you think it would have been if they did CGI on a hand? Although I appreciate the real hand being used.
I think it would have been a way worse show, not in the sense of, if you're talking about budget, it would probably cost them the same. But the reason I included him in this and gave him second billing is there is so much conveyed by him with just his fucking hands.
Just his fucking hand.
Like, the way that, and you would have not got any of that if it would have been like from a CGI rendition. There's no way they could have animated that well enough to give you like, he's sad, he's happy. They could have tried, but you're talking about Netflix budget. Even on Disney's multi-million-dollar budget, they have some of the shittiest CGI out there in some of their most recent Marvel movies, and they couldn't have pulled this off if they tried it. So Netflix definitely couldn't have.
Do you think that Victor Dorobantu is like from... oh my God, Zoolander? He's a male hand model.
If I remember right, I want to say that somebody, and this is me speaking completely off the cuff. This is just a random thing that I heard, but I want to say that they picked him up wherever they were filming at, whatever country it was. It's like I can't remember which one it was now. It wasn't Romania, but I want to say it was definitely like a European country like.
Internet.
Did he freeze?
Yep.
Burton interested casting him. It's local to whatever area they're from.
Just a heads up. Internet froze for like a good chunk of that. What you were just saying about Victor. Reverend, can you hear us?
Is it back now?
It's
'Cause,
back.
I mean, you were breaking up for a second.
Yeah, it's back now.
Okay. What I was saying is that whatever area that they were filming in, and it was like some European country, if I remember right, that Tim Burton found Victor as like a street magician, and like and it was the use of his hands and his magician work
Oh, shit.
that made Tim Burton like cast him as the part. So that's where that all came in. He could tell just by the movement of his hands that it worked.
Damn. I'm glad you included that trivia because I was wondering, like, okay, is this guy, is he someone that does ASL? Does he do sign language? You know how you have those concert people that are just sitting there interpreting? I don't
Really?
know.
Yeah.
Like, well, I mean, obviously they're going to teach him how to do sign language for some things because I know that they did do a little bit of that. It looks like they also did a little bit of Morse code.
If you really want to see something funny, try to watch the ASL interpreter for when she's doing WAP.
Oh yes, that's fucking horrible. But hey, she was on it too.
Yeah,
I like
she got in there.
I like how everybody, like, she's just a normal looking, like, white woman. Like, she's a little bit thicker, whatever. But everyone was like, dude, she hot. Like, she thick. Like, she's just literally up there doing her job, guys. Not even trying to be anything like Cardi B or whatever. Moving forward to someone who everyone would like to know if she has a WAP or not. Gwendolyn Christie. Who plays Larissa Weems' giant woman. Thanks for clarifying that for us. She was
Yep.
giving off Lady Dimitrescu, whatever.
Yeah, I feel
Nice.
like they were definitely tapping into some Resident Evil 8 connections there with how her portrayal was in this, like down to the bright red lips and all that stuff.
Yeah, the white hair, the white skin, red lips. They did not bring the boobs into the equation, though.
No, they did not.
They didn't enhance those. But yes, they definitely. Now, I know she's a large woman. I think she's 6'4", I want to say. Somewhere around there. She's above 6 feet.
It's made even, yeah, you're right, but I mean it's made even worse because they've literally cast her opposite the shortest women in existence. Jenna Ortega, Christina Ricci. It's like, I mean, these women are super short, and like she just stands out even more so in comparison to them.
You know what? I just thought of something too. Anytime she's in the presence of the men, they're usually sitting down. Or she's sitting down.
Jenna Ortega is?
No, Gwendolyn
No.
Christie.
Yeah.
Oh, that tall. Yeah.
Because they want to portray her. I can understand that because I'm like, did they make her bigger than life? But I know she's really tall, so there's also that. I don't think they did. I think they just cast her with short women, and then they set the scenes so that she always looks bigger than everyone, or she's sitting down so you can't determine the size.
Yeah, it's kind of like a forced perspective type thing. They either had her in the foreground or they had, when she was with some of the men actors, or with the females, it was a lot of them were short anyway, so they really didn't have to do a whole lot in those cases.
Yeah. Oh my God. Anyways, Gwendolyn Christie was in the Sandman series, Game of Thrones. If you didn't know, I did not know she was in Star Wars.
Dude, the Sandman series. Oh my God. That kind of started out good, then went sideways.
Oh yeah, for sure. And as good as I did appreciate the fact that they made her an androgynous Lucifer, because it kind of plays on the whole thing that he's supposed to be a beautiful, creation and all that. So giving him feminine, looks or whatever did. But the farther that series got along, the more androgynous characters they introduced. It totally, if nothing else, it made her casting less special, just because it's like, okay, so how many androgynous people are in this fucking show? Like, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean,
Big time.
But
Yeah, I think that you think they would make a Resident Evil Village movie, you think they'd cast Gwendolyn Christie?
Should
I
be a
believe
prime,
at this point they would.
Should be the prime vampire character.
Yeah.
Yep.
Get those knockers out.
7 and 8 in Star Wars, she was Captain or Phasma, the one in the silver
Shut the
stormtrooper
fuck
outfit.
up!
You didn't know that?
I did not know that.
totally wasted in both movies. You thought
I
they would bring her
know.
back in 8 and they were going to do something major with her, and it's like, no, she dies the exact same way she did in the first one. Just wow, great.
That fucking sucks. Yeah. No wonder I didn't even notice because Captain Phasma
Those
was
sequels
not.
all suck in retrospect. They're
Well,
horrible.
Understandably, but like I just Captain Phasma was she supposed to stand out because she didn't.
Her character had more story. They cut a lot of it.
Well, I know in comics Captain Phasma has a way better fucking arc, but
They also gave her her own book, and she got quite a bit of development in that. But yeah, that was Kathleen Kennedy's big oopsie, as it were, and bad play. Like they anticipated that most of the audience would like delve into like the extended media to pick up on all the stories for the characters, and A, that never happens, and B, especially not for Star Wars. I mean, most of your fans of those movies are just normies. They're not like super geeks that go and like look into everything. You're talking about a minute portion of your audience, like like on in the back of the tank, crew that might go and like read into this stuff. But like I even consider myself normie. I read maybe one of those books in the sequel, series, and even with that, it wasn't even part of the sequel series. The only one I read was I want to say it was the backstory to the characters off of Rebels, because I really liked that series they did, the animated series.
good Lord, I'll say it just like I said it on the Back to Tank, so I'm already on air having said this, so I won't back down from it because I have no intention of it. But Kathleen Kennedy needs to go back to making rom-coms, and she needs to start serving coffee to the other execs because she is tearing Star Wars apart.
Tearing this house apart.
They should have handled that whole thing. Another tangent, but they should have gave that to Dave Filoni. They should have allowed him to have picked up and ran with the extended universe stuff.
Filoni and Favreau, I think together they do good. Favreau can't be in the writing room though. He can't write and direct. It's got to be one or the other.
Well, I would say that's with a lot of directors. I mean, honestly, now, but yeah.
Put them together, and what do you got? Christina Ricci. That's not what you got, but she's next. I don't know why I didn't recognize her at first in this. Am I the only one? No, you guys recognized her. I know you did.
Yeah, I thought her character was actually really good.
I loved her character.
The one thing I did, here's something. She was great.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But two things. As soon as I saw her, I knew there was something up with her because of the way they positioned her in the show. So her reveal at the end of it was totally, spoiled for me, just because as soon as I saw her, I'm like, she's there in that position for very specific reason. Like, being that close to Wednesday, being her teacher, like, and the fact that she's also like the dorm mother and like, in her life that way, I was like, this is a total setup. So I saw that way, and I didn't get the big reveal at the end like some people might have. I was just like, yep, I kind of figured that. But the other thing is, I don't feel like they utilized her that well in this show, honestly.
Yeah, I think, but is that I want to see more of her because I'm a fan because of how amazing she's been in a lot of things?
I think that's part of it, but also like she's actually it's probably most of it, but I was sitting there, to me, it's like you've got a great actress in her.
Yes.
And you used her for bit parts and like little, like basically just in between scenes more than anything. And I feel like they didn't get, she could have done so much more. But I don't know if the trivia on her was they brought her in at like the last minute before the show actually started filming. So I don't feel like they had time to develop her, and that's part of the problem.
It was probably already written, and it was like, let's bring her in. This would be great. I did get the big reveal. I didn't see through, however you saw, and was like, oh, she's here for, whatever. The only thing I didn't like, I didn't like her wig. I liked her hair because I think the style could have been cute, but I feel like that was an obvious wig. She looked like Sam at the end of Supernatural.
For our Supernatural fans out there, that wig that Sam wore at the very last episode of Supernatural when he's supposed to be an old man, whoo, man, that was bad.
Red hair with bangs, Christina Ricci is still hot. Look at nothing against the hair color or the style. It's just that the wig itself was not. I don't know. She's also playing a crazy ass normie, so maybe that's supposed to tie into that. Maybe she's not supposed to look put together. But for the most part, she kind of looked put together, like that teacher from the Magic School Bus. She kind of had that vibe going on.
Yeah, she also had the Miss Trelawney, from Harry Potter vibe going on. But this whole show had like Harry Potter vibes to it.
That's true. It did have a lot of that. Christina Ricci, if you guys have been under a rock, is going to be in Monsters 2022. Excuse me, is going to be. Has that been released?
Yeah, I think it's in. I don't know that if it's been released, it's been very like limited release. Like, okay. I've not heard anything about it.
Same. Black Snake Moan, which I've always heard amazing things about. You guys have anything to say about it?
I haven't seen it. I know the movie. I'm kind of curious. I know the feedback was pretty good about the movie.
I haven't heard anything bad about it.
The acting was great on both her and Sam. It's probably one of Sam L's best acting jobs, honestly, and created some great memes with his wild-eyed old man, look that he had or whatever. But I've only seen like bits and scenes from the movie. So
yeah,
he's basically, got her chained up, a black man with a chained up little white girl. That's a setup for a bad situation. I mean, in a lot of, but he's doing it because like she's he's doing it in the context of the movie, I believe, because she's like basically like this drug-addled whore, and he's like trying to like, basically detox her and get her away from, a situation that's going to get her killed. And I think there might be somebody after her too that he has to deal with.
Yeah. She is a Death Holler alumni from Sleepy Hollow. If you have not been listening, she was in that movie. Addams Family and Addams Family Values. And Casper, which we've also discussed here on Death Holler.
Horrible movie.
And Casper does have a little cameo from a Ghostbuster in it.
Yes.
So there's that.
Yes.
I mean, he actually put on the suit for that one.
Oh my God. What else was I going to say? Okay. About going to Christina, not veering away from her yet. Christina Ricci. Now, I have this stupid fantasy that I think would not work, but could work. That's how dumb it is. That you think, or how would you feel if they brought her back, but as a completely different character?
If they were to, as an anthology type thing, like she kept playing like different characters throughout the series, I would be totally fine with it.
Okay, that's where I'm at. I'm like, okay, could they, would they, should they? Babe, what do you think of that?
It'd be a cool idea, and I don't know if they could pull it off, is to see, because the series already started, but if they would have had Christina Ricci play the older version of Wednesday, and it's her reflecting on her younger years.
That would actually have been cool.
And they could have made her like some weird detective or a detective for an actual job, but she remembers on her years growing up that got her into it. And they could have used it as a bridging point to show how creepy she is in the future and the stuff she went through in the past.
I mean, it would take it away from that kind of CW drama that we're getting from Wednesday a little bit, that everyone seems to be enjoying still, regardless.
Because you want to get too hung up on her younger years, and you get to see her as more of a twisted adult.
So are you saying kind of like a weird Christmas story type thing where maybe she's like, they could even like, she's almost like the narrator, or like she's telling, like she's typing up her own story, basically.
Yeah. So you could have did a lot of amazing things with the idea behind the character.
Tim Burton, we're available.
Because I think Christina Ricci would have did a good job of recasting the role as an adult version of her. And you could have did a lot with the storyline. You could have made her parents dead, and you could have made her finding out what happened and stuff like that. You could have did an awesome weird story arc with that.
So yeah, going on what you're saying, that's just like sparked a thought in my mind that goes along the same thing. So basically, she is there's something else I've read recently that's doing this, but like basically she's solving maybe even what it was a Supernatural, the prequel series, the Winchesters. She's trying to solve a current crime that has links back to her past, and she's having to go back and remember things of her, when her time at Nevermore, to be able to figure out, to solve the current case that she's got.
Yeah, something like that.
And probably a way better story than the Winchesters.
Probably. I only got like 2 or 3 episodes in. I need to go back and watch that. But according to what you're saying, I probably shouldn't. So
It's not a complete waste of time, but it's not like the best use of it either. So it's somewhere in between. It's if you got time and you want to catch it, I want to see where it goes, but I don't have high hopes. Yeah, I would like to see more of Christina Ricci. Fun fact, and you probably got this a little bit, but now Jenna Ortega claims now she knows who the original Wednesday Addams is, aka Christina Ricci, and I shouldn't say the original, but from Addams Family, and I'm sure she's taken a lot from that, as well as Tim Burton. But she specifically made it a point not to discuss Wednesday Addams, the previous one, with Christina Ricci. She's like, I didn't want her to think that's all she was worth to me.
And she didn't want Christina Ricci, not in the sense that she didn't want the input, but she didn't want Christina Ricci to kind of, give her any kind of like coloring to her portrayal of Wednesday too. So she didn't want like, because if she talked to her, then she would probably want to take on some of those things in her portrayal, and she wanted to keep it just her own self, like, which is a better idea in my opinion.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool. That being said, moving forward, we've got Gomez Addams, Luis Guzman, which has been said multiple times by the Reverend and I. I don't know so much what the rest of the Scooby Gang has thought, but I know like him as Gomez, and my hubby is not so as enthusiastic about him as Gomez.
I want to throw in there, mention Cody again, since I think I've already mentioned him. He just told me that he wasn't outside of Thing, or I don't even know if he mentioned Thing, outside of Jenna Ortega. He didn't. I mean, this is after watching the first episode. He said he wasn't too enthusiastic about any of the other casting choices. So I'm assuming that he's including Luis Guzman in that, and I can see it to a degree because I feel like Luis Guzman's a little too soft spoken, but physically, I appreciate the fact that they threw it all the way back to the comics.
Yes, and we've mentioned that a few times. And there's no saying it, but this is also a different, grown-up, older Addams Family. Although I don't know how old Wednesday was supposed to be in Addams Family values. I could see that they've completely Pubert is just out of the storyline. Period. There's no Pubert in this storyline, but this is like an older Morticia and Gomez, so they're also slightly different. They're still passionate about each other, and they're passionate about their children.
One thing that I want to throw in there, well, there's a couple of things. First of all, you mentioned off air, because we discussed the next one up, and I'll hold that discussion on Catherine Zeta-Jones, but something I thought about after we talked about it off air was that this show is Wednesday. It's her.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing these characters through her. So at her point in her life, this is how maybe that's not how they really are. It's her interpretation of how her parents are.
That is true. Yeah.
She's seeing her father as like this soft-spoken, just constantly reaching for Morticia type character. And, and maybe that's just what her father means to her, as opposed to what we're seeing everything from her perspective.
Yeah, and he's the only person in the show that can touch her without her recoiling.
And it's also, and the other thing I was going to say, it's his little like pet names he comes up with. You can tell that he loves his daughter. Like, mean, like the, my little death trap, my little scorpion, all the little things that he says. So, I mean, it's clearly painting the picture that he is, of the two parents, her favorite.
Oh yeah, and he's also very much a softie for his daughter, and that's pretty common. A dad and daughter relationship and a mother-son relationship is completely different as well. So yeah, I like how they're the parents are there, they're big names, but they're kind of kept in the background because, again, like mentioned, this is Wednesday. This isn't the Addams Family, and I think people kind of forget that a little bit. So,
this isn't in the notes, but just two things I remember about Luis Guzman that I've always enjoyed. Him playing that head chef in the movie Waiting with
Yes.
Ryan Reynolds, if you remember that.
I
And
was
he's
gonna
playing
bring
the
that
goat
up.
all the time.
Yeah.
Or the bat, or whatever it is, where they're showing their genitals off to each other. It's
Oh
hilarious.
my God.
But also in Community, because I love that show so much, they have a statue of Luis Guzman because he's their most famous graduate.
Oh my
And
God.
it was a running joke for like years, and then they got him to show up for like one of the episodes later on, and he's like, "I love my time here at Greendale Community."
Oh my God. I did not. I didn't make it that far into it. He's been in a lot of films, didn't he? Okay. Am I wrong? Did he play a vampire in a vampire movie specifically from Dusk Till Dawn?
He did a younger version of him though.
Okay. It does not show up in his cast billing for whatever reason. He's been in a ton of films. I mean, you know who he is, but you don't,
He's one of those bit players that
Yes.
like works in the background to add color to scenes, but he doesn't really like normally get like a standout role in anything.
You know
Yeah.
what movie that I fondly remember him playing he did an awesome job. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's Carlito's Way.
Oh, yeah, he's in Carlito's Way. A very young
Yep.
Luis Guzman.
That's a hella good movie too.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in years. I want to say I liked it back in the day, but it wasn't anything that I'm like. I've maybe seen it 2 or 3 times, but I'm not. That's rare. So, okay, back to the notes. Sorry, everyone. Catherine Zeta-Jones. How are we feeling about her as Morticia?
That's the one I do not like in the entire show. I've tried my best, but I do not like her portrayal of Morticia.
Babe?
She's not witty. She fills the aesthetic role, but she's not that witty, sharp, cunning type character. That's the
she's
problem with
not the-
it's the same problem with the Gomez characters. The same problem I have with her. Yeah, she aesthetically fills a role, but she's not that witty, sharp, dubious type character. And not only that, let's address the elephant. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. The fact that these people are supposed to be over the top murderers and killers, and the moment they're getting brung up around the idea of murder or someone might die around these people, everybody loses their mind.
Are they supposed to be murderous, or are they supposed to be just into the macabre?
Well, if you're into the macabre, you're into murders.
Into it doesn't mean you perform it, though.
Well, okay. If you look at the arc from the movies and what the characters are,
Mhm.
aren't they all about murder? Isn't Fester like a notorious criminal that's about killing people?
They do imply that he's
It's
a
over the
criminal
top.
also?
In this,
It's
yeah.
heavy. It's not even faint. It's heavy-handedly implied. And I laugh watching this, and it's like, you guys are freaking out over murder, and all you can think about is killing each other and being dead. Like,
Well, yes, but
I'm just
it's
saying.
one thing to okay. So I get what you're saying, actually, but hear me out for a minute. But just because you're into that, or if you are indeed a murderer, do you want to be accused of murdering someone you didn't murder?
I don't know.
And they were also really young when this allegedly happened, so maybe they weren't quite there yet.
I found it so weird. Like the school had a goddamn canoe race where they're trying to kill each other. And the moment someone tried to kill somebody, everybody lost their
They're
mind.
not trying to kill each other. They're trying to stop each other from
Well,
winning.
what about when the axes flung and they had to duck from the axes?
Oh,
They
that
were
was hella funny.
Okay, then. What are we talking about?
Oh, man. I
I'm
mean,
just saying, you guys did a canoe race. A canoe race, and you tried
Which
to
is
kill
a-
it.
Which is a callback to Adam's Family Values. I mean, the canoe race is for
I know,
sure.
but it's a canoe race. You're not fighting for gold or whatever. It's a canoe race, and you're trying to kill each other. And the moment Wednesday went to try to torture this guy a little bit to get him to turn into the Hyde, everybody lost their mind. The fuck are we
That-
doing?
That is a good point. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe you're like this. And it's like she's literally been trying to kill several and threatened to kill several people up to this point. It's
Yes.
like what that was a very big tonal disconnect in that episode. I'll 100% give you that.
Okay, so what is
But-
I want to take it back a little bit in the Addams Family. I'm going to go to the movies real quick because I want to give your interpretation of how Morticia was as a mother in the movies. Was she a doting and tending to her mother? Was she completely neglectful? How did we feel about her as a mother? I feel like, me personally, she loved her kids, but she kind of let them do their own thing.
In the movie, she never really loved her kids. They were just her kids.
Yes. Okay.
And
Well-
this is like, I don't know.
And Wednesday gives off the vibe in this show that that's one thing she didn't like about her mom. Her mom, she doesn't want to be like her mom. I know that much, but it's like typical teenager. Like, my mom hates me, you know?
My interpretation of the Addams Family movies, that had Angelica Houston, is that she loved her children, but she was more of the mother that let them do their own thing and
Yes.
enjoyed seeing them grow on their own.
Yes.
In spite of outside of her influence.
So what was in Wednesday, what was her main thing against her mom? She had a vendetta against her mom.
It was almost like she, in the show, that she viewed her mom as like overbearing, like trying to, mold her in her own image. Also, the way, and like I said, if you interpret this show as if this is all Wednesday's perspective, she literally shows her mom as just being like this weak, like sexualized person who does, all she cares about is just, making out with Gomez and getting filled up. That's literally all she cares about in life. According to the interpretation in this show.
It sounds like a teenage interpretation.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that I'll give you that I appreciate if you look through that lens. But I'm right there with Noah. Morticia in every other version of the character has always been more domineering in other ways, not like toward her children, but like she's assertive, like she's, way more than the only scene in the show that she gives that off is the scene where when Gomez is like in jail and she's like trying to prove his innocence.
Yeah.
And then she stands up, and then that's whenever Wednesday actually gets respect for her. But I feel like, and that's the only time I gave respect to the character too, which is, I guess, is a good thing meta wise. But it's like, that's Morticia. That's how she always is. And she's the matriarch of the family. She does not back down. She's mama bear, like when it comes to her family. Like, even if she's hands off with them. You mess with her children, she's going to fucking get a poison, and you're going to be fucking dead somewhere.
Yeah. So do you think, because I am also in the boat of I'm still like working on liking, I don't dislike Morticia, but I don't necessarily like her. I'm in this weird purgatory.
I'm right there.
Do you think that they would, if they were to make her be more assertive, it would be a better character in the show?
It's not even assertive.
100%.
It's not even assertive. It's this underhanded motive where it's counterproductive to everybody.
Where she'll fucking cut you?
Yeah, but it's not overtly blatant, but the intent is definitely there. And you don't get that at all with her character in this.
Totally off topic. Is Catherine Zeta-Jones supposed to be Latina in this? Or is she supposed to be like a Spaniard because the characters are of Mexican-Spanish descent?
They paint that image, but I don't feel like the character that they got to portray her as a teenager looks that way. So I don't know what they're trying to imply with it. And I feel like that she does not take that pancake white makeup well either. I'm going to throw that out there. I feel like they make her look sickly as opposed to sexy. Like,
I agree with you.
She looks like, she's been in the hospital and just got out, like through most of her scenes. So,
I didn't like the makeup. I thought it looked so cheap, and I was like, I know she's older, and I know but
they're trying to cover up some imperfections.
I know that they can do better. Okay, gonna move on now. Fred Armisen, Uncle Fester, very, very small role. Do you think that it got the vibe of Uncle Fester across? We know he's a criminal. They got that across.
I'm going to go first because we've discussed this a little bit. We're in the sense that I got Noah's impression, and I know he doesn't think exactly this way. So I'm going to throw this out there. I appreciated the role. Christopher Lloyd is one of my favorite actors. So,
yes.
Whenever you talk about Fester, you're going to have to do better than that. And
I agree 100% with that statement.
And I was ready to hate Fred Armisen. I don't like Fred Armisen as an actor, first of all, in most of his stuff. He's fine, but like there's just something off-putting about him. I don't know how to describe it. It's just like some people claim about Tom Cruise when they see him, they don't care what the movie is. They just don't like him as a person, so they don't like the movie.
It's a vibe.
I feel like that about Fred Armisen. I don't know why, but I do. But I was ready to hate his portrayal. But then whenever I got in there and I saw how he was portraying him as kind of like this weirdo, there's a little bit of deviousness going on behind him because he's always looking for the next, like, way to screw somebody over, and like, just the way, even the way that he modeled his voice to where it was kind of like this odd, weird, high pitched thing. I was like, I dig his take on it. I'm just throwing it out there. I do like it.
I like the character. I think out of all the characters, Wednesday got nailed and he got nailed. But the problem,
they did.
I think they did. I think Fred Armisen did a good job of knowing how he was supposed to be. I just don't like Fred Armisen in that role.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay, here's where I'm at with it. And this is going to make you guys laugh because I don't know if you guys ever played this video game, but I did when I was younger. Did any of you play Fester's Quest?
Yes.
I don't, for some reason, and as 8-bit as that game was and horrible as it was, the things you had to do in that game reminds me of Fred Armisen in this role. Was it Fester? I'm sure it was Fester's Quest that I played.
It was Fester's Quest.
And it just seems like all the fuckery you had to do, and it just seems like that's what he was kind of doing. He had the Uncle Fester look, he had the Uncle Fester vibe, he had the fuckery behind him. He was doing multiple things, but at the same time also making time in his fuckery to help Wednesday. So
that's the part I liked best about his portrayal. Like, no matter what he was doing, he made sure that he helped out his niece, and that fits what I interpret Fester to be like.
Yeah. So I again, I guess I'm with you in the sense that I don't know. I'm not 100%, but I don't know why I'm still not sold. Maybe it is Fred Armisen, even though I've liked him in other things.
I think he was a bad pick for that role. He did a good job of knowing what that character was supposed to be like.
That's true.
Out of him and the ensemble they picked for the family, him and Jenna Ortega nailed what those characters are supposed to be. The rest of them, I'll even give it the person that they grabbed to pick Pugsley. I think he nailed the role of what Pugsley was supposed to be also.
He actually was pretty good, yeah. I don't think I included him, but he was good for that part.
Pretty adorable little kid. Okay, moving forward. Oh, go ahead.
Just one last thing. If I'm right, isn't Fred Armisen the guy who plays the scuzzy Italian dude that's in Euro Trip that's like a scuzzy? Isn't he that guy?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure.
Yes, he is.
I did not know.
Okay.
Oh, my God. Riki Lindholm, who plays Dr. Valerie Kinbot, I thought she was Christina Ricci's character.
I thought that for like maybe for a split second, and then I was just like, no, because they're making it too obvious with her being like in the role of, the counselor and all that stuff. I was like, Christina Ricci's has got way more involvement in Wednesday's life than this bitch does.
I'll tell you what I was basing it off of. I was basing it off of the fact that she's playing a psychiatrist, but she could be psycho herself. But off of the painting that was in the home that they were in, I forget what house it was. It wasn't the Key House, was it? I don't know why I'm thinking Key House. Not Lock and Key, but whatever the house that they were in, that when they were kind of trying to find stuff out and they found a room in perfect condition.
Oh yeah, in the Thorpe Manor or whatever.
Yes, there was a painting, and there was a girl in that painting, and I couldn't tell who it was, so I just immediately assumed it was, of Dr. Valerie, if you will. And it could have easily have been Christina Ricci's character because she's wearing a fucking wig. So
that was the one scene that made me doubt myself, was that. And I think that's the exact reason they threw it in there.
Yes.
Was to kind of throw you off your trail.
Yeah, because it was also a younger version of her. So, it wasn't going to look exactly like the characters look now.
Now, this is based on another YouTuber's video that I happened to see before we did this. He mentioned, and I think this would have been brilliant because they were doing so many callbacks in the episode where they have to go to the Pilgrim, reservation or whatever recreation that they've got. that the woman who was giving Wednesday all the shit about like you've got to do this, you got to do that,
Mhm.
should have been like the adult actress who played the blonde-haired girl, you know, from when Wednesday went to camp and Adam's Family
Oh
Values. And
yeah.
that would have been brilliant if it was. And he mentioned that it looked like she got out of acting, you know, years ago. So that's the reason it probably wasn't her. But I think that Dr. Valerie Kinbach could have also been that actress if she was
Yeah.
still in acting, and that would have worked because she's all the time, you know, like just basically, you know, pissing Wednesday off. So that would have been brilliant if they would have got like that actress that was, you know, like the one that she hated so bad at that camp.
That is our Adam's Family Values is our official Thanksgiving movie to watch now.
Eat me.
Oh,
I'm a
God.
turkey.
Oh God. Emma Myers, who plays Ina Sinclair, little Wolverine enthusiast, if you will.
Yeah.
I thought
She's one of the few schoolmates that I could tolerate just because I get where they were going with her. They were
Yes.
making her all bright and cheery to offset Wednesday. So
yes, which is fucking hilarious. It worked. I can't believe the age of some of these characters. They look so fucking young. They're in their
well, how old is
20s.
that actress? Because she looked, I mean, she did look like she should have been that age.
She's either 20 or 22.
Oh my God.
They're all in
yeah,
their
yeah.
20s. The oldest actor, I'm going to skip just a little bit, is Hunter Doohan, who played the bad guy boyfriend, if you will, the monster. He's 28, and he looks like he's 17.
Yeah, that's true.
Uh,
Were you all disappointed since we jumped ahead to him that he ended up being the bad guy? Because I was like, don't go that trope. Don't make the one normie guy that she falls in love with, kind of the blue collar guy in town, be the bad guy. Like, don't, because I feel like this is the hang up I have. It goes all the way back to being forced to read fucking Wuthering Heights, which both of those characters were rich that the character's supposed to be in love with. But every time that they show two characters in a movie that a woman's pining for, it never fails that the rich, you know, dark brooding guy is the one that she should go for,
Oh, yeah.
you know, according to the film, because the blue collar guy ends up being like some psychopath or something. That's a Hollywood thing. I know for sure that it's a bias and like probably an agenda they have. But I was hoping this one time it's like, because Hollywood's all about like, well, we're all for the working man and all that. But this guy, he was like earning, he didn't have, his dad was a sheriff, didn't make a whole lot of money. His mom was dead. He was, earning his wages by like working as basically at a little diner somewhere serving coffee. And, you know, and then so you'd think that like, you know, I like the setup they had there. And when I saw the pivot start to happen, I was like, you got to be kidding me. So the rich artsy guy is the one that they're putting as the one she should have went after. Great.
yeah, and she does kind of say he's kind of a rich asshole. You know, the only reason that works is it has not implied that she has fallen for the rich artsy guy. You know, I guess you can imply that maybe in the future she might. But she hasn't shown any interest in that guy. And she said, of course, the one guy that I do fall for would end up being the psychotic one, you know, and that is very Wednesday of her. So
Yeah.
I guess that's the only reason it worked. I knew that was the only thing in this show that I knew what was going to happen. And I think I attribute it to me dreaming the show while Noah was watching it, because I think I might have maybe witnessed it while sleeping. It's hard to say, but I knew he was the bad guy.
The funny thing is that the Wednesday of those movies that we talked about, since it was, you know, and we talked about this earlier, she would have probably still went for him even after all that, and probably because of that stuff.
Yes.
Because she'd be like, "Oh, you like to kill people, and you know you seem normal on the surface, like a serial killer." She would be into that. I'm sorry, but she would be even more hardcore for him at that point.
Quite possibly. Now, killing for just fun, maybe killing someone that deserved it, because she did not seem okay with the fact that he's killing innocent people.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I mean, at the same time, I feel like, you know, I don't know, the Wednesday they paint in the movies is, I mean, she loves to torture and, you know, just regular normies herself. So
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a different interpretation, of course, but it's just interesting to see the comparison between the two of them.
Yes. All right, we're gonna blast through the last few. Musa Mustafa, the only actual child in the show aside from Pugsley.
And he's given the creepiest sexual line of the entire
Yes.
show.
Oh my God. Eugene, he played Eugene Odinger, and he is only 13 years old in real life. So I did
Talking
not.
about his big smoker that he wants somebody to handle for him. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Percy Hines, Xavier Thorpe, who plays that's the rich.
Rich brooding,
Yeah.
artsy guy. They threw me for a slight loop with him, and this was intentional. The fact that they showed that whatever he draws can become animated. So I thought for a good chunk of the show that he was animating the monster.
Yeah,
which is I think what they were hinting at.
I liked that. Joyce Sunday, the character that Tim Burton cast only to be racist because he made her the black
Token black
enemy. Yes.
Token black.
He made her the black bully, and now Tim Burton is racist. So
Do it all along.
and then also last but not least, Jamie McShane, who played Sheriff Gilpin. Yeah, I don't know.
Which he's not been in a whole lot, but I thought it was funny. He does the voice acting in a Zombieland video game, and he plays Tallahassee in that, which
my
I
God.
could kind of half see that, like him doing a Woody Harrelson impersonation. So,
In terms of his character, I get the vibe that he's one of those, my child is a good child. Like he wouldn't hurt anybody. Like, my boy's a good boy,
he seemed to me like a straight up, I mean, this is a trope character, but there is if you ever watch the MTV version of Teen Wolf, which is actually not bad for a couple of its seasons, it got stupid after that, like a lot of their stuff. But there was a character that was the main protagonist's girlfriend's dad. Is kind of like this gruff, militaristic type character. Turns out he's like from a long line of werewolf hunters, and that sets up the whole thing in the show. But Jamie McShane gave me that vibe because he's like the gruff, authoritarian figure that's like pushing back against Wednesday and her investigations and all that. So I got a lot of similarities between those two characters.
Yeah. I don't know. All right, let's move into the episodes. The names of each
go ahead.
episode, fucking hilarious. Everything has woe in it, I think.
Actually, now that you say that, I hated that. Every time it would pop up, I'm like...
I loved it.
I was like, you could make some other references that would be as witty, but the woe thing has got tired after 2 episodes in.
Are you saying go whoa, go bro? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Basically is what I'm saying.
Oh my God, I loved it. So, but that's just the Enid in me, I guess. I don't know. Wednesday's child is full of woe is our first character. Wednesday's child, she was born on a Wednesday. I don't know if that has any. No, she was not born on a Wednesday, huh? She was born on Friday the 13th.
Yeah. Something about, let's see. That she was named after like Wednesday's child is full of woe or something.
Oh,
it's a line
it's a
from like some poem or something.
Yes, from her favorite poem about some murderess or something. I don't know. Anyways, synopsis: when a deliciously wicked prank gets Wednesday expelled, her parents ship her off to Nevermore Academy, the boarding school where they fell in love. I don't know. I mean, I guess it works in the first scene. Not first scene, the first episode. I particularly liked the piranha prank. I
loved it.
Yeah.
That was good tiebacks to the Wednesday of the movies.
Yes.
That's the type of thing she would do.
But why would these parents put their kids in a regular school? And why did they leave? I don't understand why they left
Do you
Pugsley there.
understand where we get into inconsistencies?
I don't know if it's an inconsistency. I almost feel like I don't know. I almost feel like, to me, in my headcanon, although it was never explained in the show, you know how they, in the movies, they hinted that like the local town was kind of forcing them out of homeschooling at one point or something, and was threatening. It was something implied like that. It's like you can't keep your, so I almost feel like they went along that that thread. Is like, okay, they had to go to school, they couldn't be taught at home by Granny Frump, so they put them in the local school because they were forced to. But why they didn't send them to Nevermore instead, that's the question. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, and if Pugsley was getting picked on, I mean, he's likely not going to get picked on ever again after what Wednesday pulled. But if he's getting picked on, and I know you can't just pull your kid out of school, I get that, but
hold on. How about this? What's Pugsley a specialist in?
oh, fucking
Macabre.
explosives.
Tons of violent stuff. You're gonna tell me?
Usually explode.
Yeah.
But you're gonna tell me this kid can't figure a way to rig something up? Like, do you understand? Like, these kids specialize in causing damage to people and things.
Well,
Well,
not
and they
only-
were getting
Go
and they were
ahead.
getting taught. They were getting taught by both their parents and their uncle in how to murder and torture people. Like, let's not throw that out there. I mean, because that is a plot point. I mean, that's why my biggest issue that I take with the people who are trying to claim that Wednesday is a Mary Sue, she is presented as that, but there is lore reasons for that. Because if you watch the various or read the various versions of her, she was taught how to, use a rapier, fencing by her parent, her dad in particular. She was taught how to play the cello, probably by Morticia. And and on and on and on. Like, she learned, I mean, a lot of her skills and like being able to break into places was from Fester. So I mean, these kids were taught, how to deal with shit like this.
Wait a second. Aren't we teaching our kids how to play with explosives and stuff like that? Haven't our kids not witnessed this? Oh, God. What are we doing?
There's some major inconsistencies.
Okay,
happening.
well, and here's another big inconsistency. So this is an issue we have with the show. Again, I don't think I need to, I'm not going to even say it at this point, but I am going to say an inconsistency. Pugsley's out of school. He's technically 10 or 11 in this. Well, in real life, he's 10. In the show, he's 10 through 12. Why is he out of high school? Wednesday's in high school. What is he? How is he getting shoved in a locker? He should be at best junior high, which I know they can mix those sometimes. It's rare though. Usually they mix junior high with elementary.
True. Yes.
So that's that. So I don't know. That was episode 1. We do get a little building, a teeny tiny bit of building for Wednesday. I mean, we get right off the bat, we get how violent she could be. I feel like at Nevermore Academy she could be violent though and be herself without, so much the repercussions. But then they don't imply that because the teacher or the principal, when she goes in, is, we made an exception to get you in.
That's some of the things that don't make any sense to me. I mean, you've got like their alumni is their biggest well-known alumni is Edgar Allan Poe. Fucked in the head, in reality. I mean, so I mean, very dark. So I mean, you would think that a character like Wednesday, who's basically Poe 2.0, would fit in perfectly fine in such a environment. And then they're like, oh well, you're just too strange for us. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, what are these lighthearted monsters that like? I don't understand what they're trying to imply by that.
Yeah, is this the episode 2 where she does have a fence off with
Bianca, yes.
Bianca, and
yes.
she gets defeated. She thought she was just going to go in and whoop someone's ass. She didn't. And I think that was a good part of the story, that it does take away from the Mary Sue.
It does help with that, and they do give enough of her standing her own to where she doesn't look like she totally just was out of element when she attempted that. But,
yeah.
I think for an intro episode and for a pilot, as it were, this was great. I was invested in this episode pretty heavily.
Yes, so from episode 1. Episode 2, Woe is the Loneliest Number. I'm sorry, you're going to hear every title.
It's like nails on a chalkboard every time.
Oh, I love it. The sheriff questions Wednesday about the night's strange happenings. Wednesday faces off against a fierce rival in the cutthroat Poe Cup race. This is fast. I thought this was later on in the series.
No, it's right off the bat, and I do like that. Now, the thing that threw me on this episode, and I had to go back and rewatch it, was I was apparently, because it's so quick, you'll miss it, especially if you're not paying super attention to it. Well, literally before the credits roll, they introduced the fact that or what it looks like, the fact that the character who died right at the end of the previous episode, which that's a good way to end a pilot episode, is on a cliffhanger. But he just walks out of the school like nothing happened. And I'm like, what? I was like, I looked at my wife and I was like, did they explain that anywhere? Like I had to go back and rewatch it to figure out, and like, no, that's part of the show.
Yeah, and we're talking about, well, he didn't have a big role in the show, but they made it big at the beginning. This was the kid that attacked Wednesday at the was it the end of the first episode?
Yeah, he had the very much the Carrie vibes, the throwing her against the tree and like force choking her or whatever.
Yes, gave her the good old force choke. I bet you she liked it. And then
Really?
and then he basically lets her know that she's he's almost like a doom prophet.
He is, yes.
Yeah, he's some kind of
Yes.
doom prophet. He sees her, she's going to be the demise of the school. So I had to throw that out there.
And I did like that from the first episode. Now that you mention it, the whole like they had that drawing that was from like 30 years prior at least, where it showed her and the
The pilgrim
I can't
guy,
remember the pilgrim guy. I can't remember his name now, but anyways,
John Smith.
It was
Yeah,
John's
the one
son,
from the
wasn't
Disney
it?
cartoon. But yeah, they that was the one thing though that I just rolled my eyes at. I'm like, really, the Pilgrim Witch thing, which is even worse than the next episode we're going to talk about. But I almost checked out of the show when I saw it. I'm like, how old and road is this? Going back to that shit, like there is so many other things you could have done creatively besides the whole. I mean, and I think it's partially because we discussed Hocus Pocus 2, and it of course that would be based on that because that's what the original was. But I don't know, it just hit me wrong, and I'm just like, I'm over this. I'm tired of the pilgrims were bad, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
The witches of Salem. I mean, create new monsters, guys. Come on.
It does remind me of Adam's Family Values, though, where we have
It does.
Pocahontas
Yes.
and Sarah Goody.
Yeah.
And I'm like, did Tim Burton take like a snapshot of that film and was like, oh my God, let's make this be the ultimate showdown? Because that's got to be what happened. But it wasn't Sarah Goody this time.
No, it was Goody Adams. Which,
Goody Adams.
Now, explain something to me. We're jumping ahead technically the third episode by discussing this, but it doesn't really matter in the scheme of things.
Yes.
Did it strike you all as weird that they created a Hispanic pilgrim? That was, I mean, that even more so. I was like scratching my head. I'm like, you're going for diversity pretty hard here by going that route. I mean, if you're going to cast a Salem-esque plot, then at least make them, Western European.
I mean, it does.
They didn't even go the route of making her, to my knowledge. Now you can correct me, and because I might have missed this, they didn't even paint her as a Spaniard. They painted her as a, South American or at least Mexican.
Yeah, because her mom was hardcore
heritage.
Mexican. And now that I think
Yeah.
about it, but the problem, the confusing thing, and again, consistency, we've talked about it, is that she had, I mean, I know Spaniards and Hispanics have blonde hair, that they make us in those colors too, but she came off very white to me.
Yes.
But then now that I think about it, her mom was not white.
No, not whatsoever
At all. So, oh my God. Okay, I didn't even think about that, and now I'm thinking about it, and
It really bothered me whenever they said that she's I mean, it's one thing. I mean, because to me, my first thought seeing the Adams, and even if they wanted to go, and whenever I first saw Goody, was that okay, some Hispanic heritage got introduced later. That happens all the time in America. Melting pot, all that. That's all well and good. But then to them to go ahead and say no, she was a Latina. I was like, oh God, now you fucked up.
You
that
know
don't
what
make
would
any
have
fucking sense.
absolutely would have worked is if Sarah Goody was like the creation of like she's a fucking monster. If she was like part Indian, part European.
That would have worked. Yes, I would have not even batted an eye at that because I mean the amount of people, especially in Appalachia, who can actually legitimately claim that they have Native American ancestry is up there because I mean they were together. I mean
Yes.
it's going to happen. So
That would have made more sense. And the mom could have passed off as Native American, but they didn't really go that route. They gave her a Hispanic accent and like
it don't make But anyways,
Grab the sack of beans and go. Let's talk about the. We want to go back to episode 2 because we cannot discuss the cutthroat poke-up race where my husband discusses them trying to murder each other, and of course the adorable little Wednesday in a cat suit.
and her, which is, was pointed out by that YouTuber I was listening to, modeled off of Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman costume. It's a throwback to that from Batman Returns.
Yeah.
You don't want to sexualize a 16-year-old goth girl who's already, it's something about goth girls. They're outside of the regular, so they're attractive just for that. But then you throw them in a cat suit, and you're not sexualizing them. Okay.
Oh my God. Absolutely. But she looked adorable. They actually all looked cute in the cat suit. Enid too. So, they're all 20-year-old girls. Oh my God.
What I thought was really funny was the Harry Potter connections are so heavy in this episode because it reminded me of that of the Goblet of Fire, even the siren shit. Because I mean that was one of the big plot points. He had to go down there and rescue one of his friends from sirens.
Oh my God, yes. Okay, and I watched that in Harry Potter. I have not. I couldn't put the Harry Potter movies together. I've only seen a few of them, and yeah, I'm not a fan. I like them. I'm just not a good fan, is what I'm saying. I'm a fair weather fan when it comes to Harry Potter. Episode 3, which we've kind of already discussed, which was Friend or Woe. Wednesday stumbles on a secret society. Oh my God, during Outreach Day, Nevermore outcasts mingle with Jericho's normies in Pilgrim World. So basically, Nevermore Academy is kind of an outcast school. Everyone's weary of this school to the point where people don't even jog around the school. They think that everybody there is murderous. But yet they have this Outreach Day where they all kind of get together and mingle. It's like, I don't know. It's like introducing minorities to white people.
What are you talking about? There's a Black Pilgrim.
Yes, there was a Black Pilgrim.
Yeah.
There was a Black Pilgrim, which is getting a lot of shit on the internet, by the way.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
Yeah, that's tone deaf. Who thought that was going to fly?
Well, I mean, even if you're trying to do that in the name of diversity, I mean, you're casting, it goes the route of, the people who argue for diversity, they always argue that you paint the diverse people in a positive light, which is, if you want true diversity, there's got to be bad guys from all groups. But regardless of that, but those same people, they never like to see the reverse hires in a enemy or villain role. So that right there was a bad decision on everybody's behalf if that's who they were trying to cater to.
But how about the fact, let's just be honest, if there was a black person in the Pilgrim community back then, guess what? He probably would have been grabbing the corn off the fucking stalks.
He would have been probably cleaning out the pig shit, if nothing else.
Yeah,
yes.
he would have been whatever they tell him to do.
Yeah. So
and somebody pointed out, I think that one guy I was watching the YouTube video for pointed out a very good point in this episode, how weird it was that Principal Weems is deliberately helped funding this event, though that their school of outcasts was tortured and killed by the Pilgrims. Kind of weird.
Yeah.
But it's at the end of the day, it's all politics. That is how politics is.
But I thought that thing that Wednesday did, setting that thing on fire, then playing her cello was pretty awesome.
Oh yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Is that okay? Did she learn how to play that? She learned how to play a song, but I don't know which one she played. That might have been it, where she was where the fire was for the guy. I think that's the song she learned how to play in real life.
Speaking of which, I don't know which episode it was, but whichever episode she plays Paint It Black on the cello, love it.
Yes.
Love that rendition. And Nothing Else Matters by Metallica. Whenever they got the cello playing that is awesome.
Yeah. I heard that. I was like, really? Metallica? I mean, pretty cool, obviously. I've been listening to rock songs on cello for a minute. Thank you, Pandora, for just randomly playing that shit one day. And shut up, Pepe.
Oh my God, what the hell?
She wants attention. Nona's not here. Little Lucifina is not here to tame the evil cat beast. So, anyways, yes. Sorry, I wanted to talk about something on Friend or
I'm
Low.
just going to say really quick. I think the reason that I hated, I mean, this is the episode I hated the most of the entire series.
Really?
I literally slept through most of it. Yes.
I thought it was funny.
And I think it's not just the inconsistencies with some of the characters like the Black Pilgrim, the Mexican Pilgrim that or that was the
Named
witch.
Goody Adams.
Yeah. To me, it was also the wokest episode, and I have to throw that out there. I have to. I mean, that I know that Wednesday and Addams Family Values, which this whole episode was based on, clearly,
Yeah.
had a woke moment, even back in the early or 1992, 93, whenever they came out. That movie did have that moment where she was talking about how the Pilgrims, the standard, line about how they used the Indians and all that. Okay, but they went beyond that in this. They were talking about the awful way that people are abused in the farming of chocolate in one episode or in one part of the episode. I mean, it was just one thing after another. I mean, I literally, my eyes almost rolled in the back of my head. I'm like, come on, stop, please. I don't need this. I don't need to be lectured to.
Did your eyes do a 360?
My entertainment.
Okay, I see that stuff because I feel like at this point you're going to get it and you can choose, well, actually you don't know if it's going to happen. So sometimes you just can't choose not to watch it. You can choose to not continue to watch it. And it's like they go there and then they dial it back in this. So I did notice at least that, but I think with it, I was like, oh yeah, I see what they're trying to do, that message. And I just kick that dirt off my shoulder because I was like, whatever. Moving forward, I don't care about that, And then that's okay, fine. I'm an asshole, but that's just. I was like, okay, let's get to the good stuff.
It's just, I kept watching the show in spite of it because I liked what they were doing around the show. It's just like I saw that and I'm like, you could have a really entertaining show and you could tackle these issues in a more subtle way that would actually get the point across. Because that's when they say the left can't meme, that's the exact thing they're talking about. That because their entertainment's the same way. The memes that the left put out are always like, I'm going to give you an entire box of text telling you, exactly what my thoughts are on this subject. Whereas like the right, when they meme, it's like a picture with a funny joke that's got like a really subtle like theme behind it, and you pick the theme up as you're chuckling, and like the laughter and the entertainment from the meme helps. It's basically like a little bit of ice cream with some foul tasting medicine.
Yeah,
it's like it helps it go down, and they don't understand that. You don't need. I mean, they literally were having Wednesday preach at the audience when that scene where she was in German, like going over about the horrors of chocolate or fudge or whatever, and I'm like,
God,
I thought that was hilarious.
I completely missed that. Apparently, it must have been so woke. I was just like, eh.
That didn't come off woke to me. That came off nailed her character.
I didn't. I swear it's out of my memory.
It was part of her character, and I'll agree with you in that sense, but it was just like I knew what they were trying to do behind the scenes with it, and I was just rolling my eyes. I'm like, okay.
I was laughing so hard. I thought that was actually pretty good.
The only thing that made that better was they did add like a funny line or two in the middle of her little diatribe, and that did make it like I said, the ice cream made the poison go down a little bit.
Oh my God, easier. Can I talk about something that I did like in this episode? And this is where we discuss about her stumbling on a secret society. How did you guys like her solving the clues to figure out that she had to snap twice?
I thought it was pretty cool.
I liked it.
I did like that, and I liked the snap because I was like, snap. Okay, yes,
that makes sense. So okay, that's it with that. I just wanted I did like the problem solving. The questions were almost easy enough that I can understand her knowing the answers. It wasn't anything too outrageous, especially for her. So, and then I did like how they incorporated the two snaps. So, all right, moving forward. Season 1, Episode 4. Whoa, what a night.
Oh, my God.
Wednesday asked Xavier to the Raven dance. She was using him. She asked him out of... She got caught sneaking around his little art shack. Which, how does a kid just get an art shack out of school? I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
mean,
he did
his
say he fixed
excuse-
it up, and they let him.
Yeah, his excuse about how he cleaned it up, that don't make any fucking sense. But
Yeah.
it's fine. I mean, they had to have it away from everybody else so that it wasn't, he could sneak about and do his thing. So
I guess so. Let me see. Sparking Tyler's jealousy. So she asked him to the Raven Dance, sparking Tyler's jealousy. Thing has got something up his sleeve. Eugene stakes out the cave. What did Thing have up his sleeve? Because I know this is the episode where he got the 5-finger discount on that dress.
he
Which was
had
hilarious.
that, and what he had up his sleeve besides that was he also delivered a note to Tyler.
Oh, yes.
Trying to, because he saw that and this is the episode that shows best Jenna Ortega's acting ability. She showed Tyler with just her eyes that she was interested in him, and Thing caught it, and he could tell when he saw her light up with what little that she does light up. He's like, I'm going to make this happen, and that's what he does in this episode.
Oh, yes, because this was, okay, we skipped past, I don't know if it was in Friend or Woe. Was it one of those episodes where he takes her to a mausoleum and plays a scary movie for her, which is...
That is later on. That
Okay.
is actually in episode, I want to say 7,
Okay.
where he does that.
I wasn't sure. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if that's what got her attention. So, okay, we won't go there yet. But
No, she's been in the episodes up until now. She has been interested in him, and just by their, like, when they talk, like, I mean, it's actually well done. I mean, it's more like a subtle thing. Like, she's just, he's helping her out. She can sense, that he's got a dark history, so she's attracted to that. It's built up from just them being together, like, and meeting each other.
yes, and again, if you are not on any kind of social media whatsoever, then what are you doing listening to a podcast? But this is the dance episode.
Oh, fuck yes. This is the TikTok extravaganza right here.
Oh my
Which,
God.
by the way, this is going to be a Mandela effect within a year if it's not, sooner than that. And why I say that, the song that plays is like a psychobilly type song in the actual episode. That sounds like something that's like you would play at a Monster Mash type thing at a Halloween get together. The song that TikTok has made everybody think is actually playing over top the scene is the Lady Gaga song, I Dance With My Hands, or whatever the song is.
God.
That's the lyrics to it. And the reason I say this is because it is incepted Lady Gaga herself. She actually thanked Wednesday for using her song on Twitter, and then to make it even worse,
Oh shit.
To make it even worse from what I've seen, the actual official Wednesday Netflix account responded back to her and thanked her for giving them the rights to that song. And I'm like, it's not in. What are you talking about, people? It's not in the episode.
What the fuck? I on TikTok I see people going crazy like, oh well, the Cramps are going to become really popular now, and it's like, shut the fuck up. Let people discover new things. Yes, it's through, mainstream media, whatever. Okay, let the Cramps come back to life. It's funny because little Lucifina and I always play. Well, the Cramps are on my Halloween Pandora party radio station, and I have never heard this song. This song has never come up on my Halloween Pandora or anything that when the Cramps are playing. And I'm like, wow, this is cool. This is like I've discovered something new, but old.
Have you heard the trivia about where she got her inspirations for the dance?
Yeah, she had multiple things she got inspiration for the dance from. You want to discuss that, though? Because I don't have that.
I don't have all of them off the top of my head because the one that I don't remember, I mean, I can throw it out there, but I don't remember the lady's name. So the one thing was, obviously there is a very short segment where she's just kind of like moving her feet really fast. That is clearly from the Wednesday in the original series. Like that is straight up. She took that, to give a callback to the original 60s series. Jenna Ortega studied a lot of video footage of 1980s goths,
Yes.
as they were dancing, and took a lot of their movements and used those. But there is a goth lady, and I don't remember what her name is. It starts with an L, is all I remember. let's see.
I'm looking right now. By the way, as of 2 days ago, official goths, TikTok goths, if you will, say that the Weird Dancing in Netflix's Wednesday is authentic. So they have confirmed that she she really did channel the goths. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Let me see if I can get the name of the lady you're talking about.
So she credits Susie Sue or whatever is another person that she credits,
Yes.
and that might be the one that I'm thinking
Yes,
of or
that
whatever. But yeah, and she and I saw the video of that. They compared it on TikTok, and I mean it's a lot of the hand wavy, like the kind of like she's moving it like she's in a wave or something like that in a pool. That kind of comes from her in that scene.
Yeah, worked on it just a few days before, and bless you for figuring out that name. I did not know Susie Sue because it is spelled so freaking weird. I was like, Suxy Suxy sucks. Let me see. Also, I read this somewhere that some of the well, you can see that there's definitely some Latino inspiration in that. She's got a few Spanish moves in there, a little flamenco.
Yeah. But those also come from, I mean, they could be attributed also to like Gomez from the original series, according to this article I'm looking at right here, because he kind of did that. But also, I mean, I feel like she took a couple of the dance moves from the Mamushka from the, and moved them in there too a little bit.
Oh yeah, she had a little bit of everything. She had COVID when she did this dance. She wasn't feeling good that morning. I think she had like a killer, like sore throat and just feeling like she got beat down, and they're like, okay, no big deal. So she goes, they filmed this scene. By the way, they claim they had a very strict COVID policy on set. Yeah, sure they did, because somebody walks on scene not feeling good and you're just like, okay, cool. They let her film the scene, but they made her leave immediately after she got that positive result. And I was like, but bro, she's already been there. Like, the damage has been done. Let her work.
We all know that the COVID policies are dumb as shit. Like,
yeah.
I mean, they don't, I mean, you can, the whole restaurant stuff, it's like COVID mysteriously doesn't factor in when you're sitting at a table, but if you're walking through the restaurant, it does. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
As my husband pulls his mic away to cough. Thanks, babe. That way the mic doesn't get COVID.
The one thing I'm going to say about that, though, another bit of trivia, is she did choreograph that entire thing herself. That is all Jenna Ortega that came up with that. They did not have anybody tell her to do any of that stuff.
No, she'd made it up a few days before. She's like, clearly I am not a dancer or a choreographer. Her co-star, who played Tyler, was like, I think it looks great, to which Luis Guzman replies, are you flirting with my daughter?
Oh yeah, I remember that I think you sent that.
That was funny.
The funny thing is that she can say that, I mean, and that's probably true, all that she said that she's not, but I mean, the funniest thing is that it has become a sensation, especially amongst goth girls. Like, they have went ape shit over this, and like, that's all TikTok is right now, is them imitating her dance, looking like her. So,
well, I mean, because Jenna Ortega is not, she's skinny, but in my opinion, she's not sickly skinny, because you see her in her underwear and her bra and X, and I think she's like, I don't know, a nice in between, if you will. She's not thick, she's not thin, or she's not too overly skinny. But in this movie, they have a way of her, I don't know if maybe she lost weight, they have a way of making her look sickly skinny, which is a very Wednesday Addams thing. And the way she flails her stick-like arms.
I was going to say her arms is what makes that more apparent than anything.
Yeah, and her neck, the way she makes her neck look like it's broken. Amazing. It's amazing. I don't have anything else to say. It's really cool. It puts the dance together.
I love the little thing that she did at the end of it with Tyler, where it looks like Thing is crawling up his back. But
It's her. Yeah. Going to Thing, too, I really like how they have stitches on his hand and everything. I think it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it makes it more like he's a Frankenstein, like he was a Addams family member or an associate, maybe a Fester's, the way they hint at in the show, that died during like one of their mini heists or whatever they were getting into, and they used their magic and science to bring him back as like just all that was left though was his hand, so that's what they had to bring back of it.
Yeah. Okay. It does anything else about Whoa What a Night?
The Carrie reference, obviously.
Oh, yes.
With the pig blood. Well, no, that was the thing. It was paint, and she wishes it was pig's blood.
Yes,
That's
she was very disappointed, which was hilarious. I think it was like one of the few times we see her actually smile.
Yes.
Now-
She's smiling because she's like, "Oh my God, somebody has made my day by making this a Carrie's, prom." And then she's like, "But they skimped out and then it used pig's
They
blood."
can't
so
even
now
use
I'm
real
pissed off.
blood. Okay. Moving on to you reap what you
Further makes my point about why they acting all scared when someone's gonna die.
You reap what you woe. During Parents Weekend, oh my God, this was funny. During Parents Weekend, Wednesday.
Oh, how about this? Hold on. Because there's something we just brushed over that makes zero sense. Wasn't there vampires at the school?
Yes, they were actually. There was a DJ that was a vampire at that event.
Oh,
So
yes.
if you pay attention to those vampires and the DJ, what are they doing when the blood's coming down?
Running.
They're running away.
It's not real blood.
They didn't know that.
I think they did because they
could
can
have
smell
probably
real
smelled
blood.
it.
Then
I
how
would give
come-
them the
then
credit more
how-
than I would any of the other people.
Then how
there.
come it didn't cut to one of them saying that?
That would have been hilarious.
Out of all the people
yeah.
that would not be freaked
That
out
is
over
true. That should have been one of them, pissed off about it. Yes.
Yeah. Sitting there like, what the fuck? And then Wednesday being like, ugh, they can't even
Just-
use real blood.
Just saying.
Okay, so we're in Parents Weekend. Wednesday digs into her family's past, which at this point she already knows about her dad being accused of a murder at some point, and accidentally gets her father arrested. Enid feels the pressure to wolf out, which is, I don't know how you equate that to teenage girl. Would that be like starting your period?
No, they were almost. It was almost a coming out of the closet type thing they were going for with her. It was like because they were painting her as like almost like she was the family member that was transgender or something that didn't fit the norm what the family expected of them. And like her father at the end of that episode was the passion or the compassionate one that let her know it's like it's okay to be different, honey. But the mother was the one that's like, this isn't normal. We're all werewolves. You should be a werewolf. Why are you not a werewolf? It was like it had those tones to it more than anything.
That dad was a weak ass.
Wow.
He was. And then at the end, he was like, the only line he ever had was, "You do you." Not the fuck. You do not say that. You, first off, sir, I know where you're from. You either have an Irish or Scottish accent. So.
Oh, way to stereotype or type a redhead.
Oh,
You're
I
good
am.
to go.
I did it.
Good
He
going on that one.
looked like it. Well, you guys have an accent of some sort. Okay. Irish, Scottish, or Kentuckian, okay?
Wow.
Which is a derivation of Scots Irish, so you're fair point on that behalf.
See, I tell no lies. I thought he could have been a cooler character. I would have liked to see him wolf out on his wife, like, shut the fuck up, bitch. Like not like that, but like, like when she's ready, she's ready. I felt like so I felt like she was forcing her daughter to grow up. So I got a different tone from it than you did.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I got from it, but also going along with what you said, there's a lot of YouTubers that are making the point, and it is out there, especially with the Marvel stuff, is making it more and more apparent that Hollywood in general does not like strong male characters, and they are making them very submissive to any woman that's on screen with them. And I don't know that this show proves any different.
No, not
at all.
Yeah.
Like every single male character in this is like they won't stand up for themselves when they're get a little bit of pushback from a woman. Not saying that they need to. I'm just saying that is a through line in this show, and especially with that the one you're talking about, the father. I mean, he is totally wearing the panties in that relationship.
yeah.
I mean,
Has he even wolfed out? Look at.
He's just trying to get some of that wolf pussy so he doesn't want to break any lines.
There's checks and
That
balances, and you cannot.
Wussy.
The
I want some of
wussy.
that wussy later.
Oh my God. You cannot let women run around rabid and rampant without medication, or at least a guy telling them to simmer the fuck down every now and then. I'm just saying, okay? It's not a safe world. So this is obviously this is an alternate world, but I mean, it's not very convincing. So
yeah, I agree with you on that, but I did get heavy vibes just for that they were trying to paint it as she was was like, even if you want to go the route if she was just non-binary, that's the whole line now. It's like she doesn't have like a gender or whatever. It had vibes like that. Like she stood out from her family because she didn't adhere to the societal norms of what they expected in their in their own whatever conservative way their family operated, and like her mom was making her feel like shit over it, and like then you had the one parent that was understanding and blah blah blah. That's what I got from that scene.
I mean, say what you want, she's still good. She still went for the dude.
Yeah, she was going for it, and not only that, has she been able to give him some of that wussy, she probably would have woofed out a lot sooner. She would have got that aggression out.
She just wanted some of that Gorgon head.
Yes.
She wanted some of those snakes.
Yes.
Some other things. Let's just say.
By the way, the scene where he freezes himself is fucking hilarious.
Oh my god! You know what that scene reminded me of, and it probably is not supposed to be this, but that's what I read into it. It's almost like he pre-ejaculated.
Yes.
And couldn't go through with the rest of the date.
He didn't even like I was like, is he done for? Because like you don't hear from him. It feels like for like a few episodes. Maybe it was just an episode. It was at least
a full episode before he came back, like at the end of one.
You remembered, like, they were talking about it, like, you're not stoned forever, you're just stoned for a temporary time.
Well, obviously, yes. So why, after he became unstoned, did he not call her and be like...
Because he told her it was embarrassing.
It's embarrassing, but like...
Here's an inconsistency for you, though. You're a Gorgon. You have your dorm room. Why can't they come in there and remove the fucking mirror for you? I mean, maybe they didn't want to because he could always cover it up and then he can make sure that his face didn't look like shit. But, I mean, you know that had to be like an ongoing thing, that they were just having their Gorgon students freezing themselves with mirrors in the rooms.
Ass naked, someone just walks in to check on them.
It's a good way to get out of class.
They're rock hard in more ways than one. Yeah.
How come you didn't go to class today? Oh, I froze myself.
A likely excuse.
Sounds like they jizzed in their pants.
Oh, I mean,
that's what the vibe I got from that. So,
in this episode is probably one of the only episodes we see Morticia kind of be slightly aggressive, or put herself out there, or at least in personality.
At the end, up to that point, she was really pissing me off. I mean, the one person that if you want to go the route of saying it's Wednesday's perspective, the one person that Wednesday, even in her perspective, knew that Morticia would fight tooth and nail for is fucking Gomez, and she takes this shit way too passively in most of this episode.
Yeah, that is true.
I mean, that. If it wasn't for that last part where she does stand up to, and then to the mayor, I would have been extremely pissed at that portrayal, because it was getting that way for me. I'm like, this is not Morticia.
Yeah. So I don't know. And I don't know that they're going to take it any further. So good Lord, we're going on almost 2 hours of this episode. Okay.
Well, it's a series.
It's a series. That is true. Next one, quid pro quo.
That's probably the worst. I
don't know what you think is so funny about that.
It's so stupid. The names are so dumb.
Yeah, but you like them.
I know.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is they kept throwing that "whoa" in there because of the Edgar Allan Poe stuff. But there's so many other things they could have typed, tapped into as books, or part lines, and it's just no whoa. That's all we're going to throw in there as a bad pun.
They should have done quid pro quo.
Oh my god!
Hey, how am I married to you? What the hell?
Oh god. Okay. Wednesday's friends throw her a surprise birthday party. They mean well, but she would rather mark the occasion by solving murders. I mean, that shows the attraction to the murders.
The only thing I really remember about this episode is this is the other one I think is kind of the weak episode. It's like literally she goes to the party, like gets pissed off, has one of her like visions that causes her to have a near damn seizure, and like pass out, and then she's back in her room. And that's all I really remember about this whole entire fucking episode, to be perfectly honest with you. This might have been the one that she discovered. Was it she discovered a book or of some kind? I don't remember.
The journal.
Literally, I don't remember anything about this episode. That's how bad it was.
That's like a version of getting white girl wasted. You just end up back in your dorm. That's how you like find out like in a few weeks that you're pregnant and you don't know who the father is.
Really?
It is like.
And then you have a Gorgon baby. It freezes you upon looking at you,
Yeah.
and you're done. You know.
Is this the book is this the episode she finds a book about the hide?
I want to say that's episode 7. I don't even think it's this. I don't know what happens in this episode.
Yeah,
Really,
I just
mean,
remember the she didn't eat her birthday cake, and I was very upset about that.
Yeah, Enid gets pissed at her in this episode. I mean, it doesn't. I don't think she does directly in this episode. It gets resolved in the next one. That's when she moves out. She's like, if you can't even be bothered to eat the birthday cake, then fuck you and fuck everything about this relationship we have with each other. And that's all that came out of this episode to me.
All right, let's move forward because it was a filler. I think we
Yeah,
can all
I'm trying
agree.
to remember what happened exactly in this episode.
Well, that's the thing is we can't remember. Do you want me to pull up the?
yeah,
Okay, hold
Whatever.
on. Let's see what
real time.
real time. Let me see. Quid.
Trying to remember.
No, not.
I think this is the episode.
Somebody dies in this episode. It's the mayor.
The
That's what
mayor.
it is,
Oh
because-
yeah.
Because she's at a funeral in the next scene, and that's when Uncle Fester shows up. Is at the funeral. So I do remember that.
No. Uncle Fester does not show up at the funeral.
He shows up in the next episode. Oh wait, no, he does. He's not technically wrong. He Fester was there Wednesday, sees something at the funeral, and goes into the woods. So
Yeah, but he was. I mean, he wasn't there in broad daylight. I mean, he's
No, but I'm saying like she sees him off to the side, and then she leaves or whatever. But I
Yeah.
do remember
You know
that.
you know what would be an awesome show is Fester following all Fester's shenanigans.
Well, that would be a pretty good like little side, like a little tangent show or whatever, just spinning it off or whatever, just
Yeah.
something different.
How many people has he killed?
oh god.
Would it be disappointed or surprised?
I would be probably disappointed if he's not like, definitely killed more than any other serial killer in existence. I mean, just I'm throwing that out there. He has to at least have numbers that high.
Yeah, because as goofy and weird he is technically very smart.
Everywhere I go has the same synopsis, but no one really goes into it. No
And
summary.
that probably is I
nothing.
think that's telling you something.
But
I
yeah,
think it's a dud episode.
The thing that stands out to me about what you guys are discussing, hold on, my pancreas is beeping, about
Oh, I know.
Fester being at the funeral.
I know what this one is. I think I know what it is. No, it's not. It was the episode before. I was
Okay.
gonna say
Fester being at the funeral.
Going to the title, what was the quid pro quo in the episode? That I do remember something about that. Was that where she was going to the? Because we didn't mention this. One of the episodes there was the whole thing about she hit, which I liked that scene where she hid in the cooling board inside of the morgue or whatever, and and then it was revealed like an episode or two later that the morgue. Coroner, as it were, died. Like, of course, he was going to die because he kept bragging about how he was going to retire in 2 days. And every time a character in any media does that, they're usually dead.
Yeah.
Except for Danny Glover, and that's because he never officially retires in Lethal Weapon. But that's a whole other point. But yeah, there was I think in this one, the quid pro quo was that like she agreed with somebody that they made a deal that if they got information, I think it was her and the sheriff, that he would do something for her. But now I can't even remember what it was.
Was
to
it
be honest
release her
with you.
dad or something, or?
No, that was an episode before that. It was geez, like I don't remember like what it was. It was they made a deal with each other, like she would investigate and he would like cut her in on like
information about
information or
Yeah.
something.
Okay, that makes more sense.
yeah, because
especially-
I think if this is the episode she drops the claw. I think this might be where she drops the claw for the DNA.
Yes, I think it is. Yeah. And he says that he'll get back to her on who, and he has one of his assistants run the DNA test for her.
What was I gonna say about this one? Shit, I lost it.
It's a non-episode though in the scheme of things. Like it really just went by and it was just like gone.
Fester at the funeral. It stands out because the cops were there looking for the murderer.
Yes.
And they're like, they're going to be here at the funeral. So then you see this shadow running in the background. You're like, that's the murderer, and it's just Fester. I mean, it could have been Fester. So.
I didn't think it was a murder just because I saw like a hint. This is Netflix's fault. This is how they need to do something different with their streaming or how they present this. But I saw a picture of Fester like in the woods, like, popping up at the end of something, and then like whenever I saw that the way the scene was framed, I'm like, oh, this is where Fester pops up at. So I knew that it was him even before he came out.
Yeah, Netflix has a flash forward before every episode, so it's weird. Like, yeah, they should have kind of kept that a little bit. Season 1, episode 7. We're moving along. If you don't woe me by now.
Oh my God.
Kooky Uncle Fester pays a visit and shares his theory about the monster. Wednesday agrees to a date with Tyler at Crackstone's Crypt.
That
awesome
is the
episode.
one where she's playing Legally Blonde.
Yes!
I absolutely love the fact, or that he's playing that for her. I love the fact when he says scary movie, actually, if anything, that shows that he understands Wednesday more than any other fucking person in existence. Because he knows that a scary movie wouldn't actually scare. She would actually, to her, that'd be a comedy.
When I heard that song, I was fucking dying, dude. I was like, what the fuck? At first I thought, because it has the same tempo at the beginning as Clueless for Kids in America, which is a song that plays at the beginning of Clueless. And I was like, no, this isn't Clueless. And I was like, oh, no.
But yeah, whenever I had it spoiled for me with TikTok because somebody posted that entire thing. They's like, did you realize that it's Legally Blonde that's playing? And whenever I watched the episode, I'm like, well, who wouldn't? I mean, I guess that's just, one of those TikTok clickbait things where they're like, they're trying to act like they've got some secret information that most people overlooked. But
made me want a hot dog real bad.
Isn't Perfect Day the song that plays at the beginning
yes.
of
on this perfect day?
I've been forced to watch that movie so many times by my wife that thankfully it's one of my least hated ones if I've got to watch it. So
I have not forced the hubby to watch that one.
I've never seen it.
See,
it's not on my list of things I want to watch.
I consider myself a good wife for that one.
It and they're all Reese Witherspoon movies.
Yes.
It and what is it? Sweet Home Alabama are the two.
Oh my God!
I have forced him to watch that one.
Yeah, I've seen that.
He has had to watch Sweet Home Alabama. But anyways,
there is worse out there.
It's not a
Autumn
horrible
in New York
movie.
and shit like that. The Notebook. There's worse.
Yeah.
So I'll just throw that out
Sweet
there.
Home Alabama is not a horrible movie. It's just not a movie.
It's
It's
not a horrible movie. It's just not a movie I would choose to watch on my own.
It's definitely a rom-com.
yes. I liked how Uncle Fester immediately kind of knew what monster. Like, they were able to do a little bit of research and figure out the exact monster. It looks identical. I mean,
and that paints that's a good thing. I hope going forward that's what they use him for. Is because he's such a worldly person and he's done so much shit in so many places that he's like basically like the Bobby of in supernatural terms, where like Wednesday comes to him and he's like, oh, that's what this is. It's like this creature that I saw back years ago when I was pulling a heist in Bulgaria or whatever. It's like
Yeah, when I was on a murderous rampage, I happened to run across this thing.
Yeah. It helped
I
me.
was killing about 14 people myself. This thing was on the other side of town creating a distraction.
Okay,
I like the electricity angle that they worked in.
Yes.
You have to give him electricity, and the fact that they worked it in and gave him that power, I love that.
Yes, and that is where Fester's quest came in for me, because he had electricity in that game. So
because he's been electrocuted so many times by Gomez that he just innately can conduct electricity now.
Oh my God.
He had a gun in Fester's Quest.
I don't remember.
I think it was a vacuum cleaner.
I only remember certain things. So, but look, I remember it. Okay.
It was an awesome RPG. It was a fun quest game.
I had a hard time playing that game. I mean, I liked it, but I was not good. Moving forward from that, though. Is Fester younger or older than Gomez? Do we know?
He's supposed to be the younger brother, I
thought
think.
so. Yeah, I thought he's supposed to be younger. It just seems like he's older.
I don't know. In this show, he seems like he's younger.
Yeah, I feel like he has to be, because in the original Addams Family, or in the movies, that was the whole thing that, or well, or was it? Who was the one that was supposed to inherit the money? Because I'm confused.
I think Fester is his older brother.
Yeah,
Well,
Fester is the older brother in that because he's the one that's supposed to take over the. He has the rights to the money, and then whenever he's still not realizing who he is, he takes it away from Gomez.
Yeah, and Adam's family won.
I
They
thought it was
kick him out.
values. Oh, yeah. Okay. Hold on.
So
I'm
maybe he
Googling.
is supposed to be the older brother, but he looks younger in this for sure than Luis Guzman, and maybe
one of
maybe
my
Fred Armisen is. I don't know.
one of my favorite quotes is on the second one where they're talking about the brother rivalry. They're talking about all the things they used to do each other, and then Fester just drops at the very end. One time when Gomez was sleeping, I took out a piece of his brain, and
Oh, yeah.
Gomez is like, "What?"
Yeah. And they're just like laughing and slapping each other. Yes, Google has confirmed that Fester is older, but I thought that I heard younger, but then I was like, that doesn't make sense because he is the heir to the Adams family. He's in all the rich magazines, for the rich bachelors in values.
Forbes.
Yeah.
Forbes, yeah. Oh God. Anyways, I think we can all agree that we like the Fester introduction, and of course the horrible horror movie scene at Crackstone's crypt.
Yeah, those are both good parts of this episode, and then this is also the episode where they investigate the house, if I remember right, and she finally gets an idea of where of the family, and then she pinpoints it on Xavier because he's of that family. But then it's revealed in the next episode that she's because she's so close to Tyler, he's using that information against her, and he's setting everything up because he gets attacked supposedly in this episode. He's got the claw mark from the monster,
Yeah.
and then we get to reveal that he obviously did that to himself just so he would throw her off the scent.
Yeah. I lost what I was getting ready to say in terms of the rich kid. It was specifically about him, but I completely
there's a lot of stuff that they try to paint him. I mean, in the show is the red herring because he keeps giving side eye to Wednesday. He's always and she brings it up in the next episode. He's always there at the same time that all this shit happens.
So is Tyler, and that's why I was like, that's why I knew Tyler was the bad guy, because it's like he's too friendly and kind. Xavier would be the too obvious character. And I was like, it seemed like too obvious that it wasn't him. It's like, oh, they're making it seem like it's him, but it's not. Although there was a few times I derailed. I'm like, it could be him. And
it was not an issue for me. I thought it was either one or the other of them, but I kept hoping that they wouldn't go the route of Tyler just because I'm like, why? I've already had the discussion, but I just don't. It's every time. It's like, okay, so it's the blue collar normie guy. All right, fine.
Yeah. Once Wednesday gets all of her. Wait, what episode was it that Thing got stabbed? Because that was sad.
Episode.
That episode 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I was horrified. That's where we got to see the electricity, where he gets shocked back to life. He gets sutured back together, and I felt bad for Thing. I had emotions.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The actor, that plays Thing, he does a very good job of making you care for basically just a body
hand.
part.
And it's where we get a lot of emotion. She may not have so much showed it, but there's definitely tears. She cried.
Yes. She was actually, she got to actually emote more in this episode, and you get a lot of sympathy for her just because, that is the one person in her life that's probably closest to her outside of maybe Gomez. And I feel like even maybe Thing is closer than that at this point in the show, just because he's been with her and experienced more with her on a personal level than Gomez probably has.
The real question is, how many hand jobs do you think Thing gave to Fester and Gomez?
Are you referencing that line from the Addams Family movies?
Yes.
Oh my
Have you heard that? Oh my God! When I heard that line on TikTok, I didn't even. I was like, "Oh my God, that's actually the movie," and I for years never even noticed.
Oh my God.
It's like, my man. It's like if you. I think he says something like Fester. If he's like, if you're feeling a little too lonely, Thing will lend a hand.
Yes.
And then you're like, oh my God.
Disgusting. Enid and Thing were pretty fucking close.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That
like
was
she's
pretty.
talking about how they bonded over manicures or something.
And then massages, and they don't go much further, but I don't know.
He's getting that wussy. Is that what you're trying
Yes.
to say?
Yes, he's getting that wussy. Not the wussy. And okay, so we at this point we are like fucking flying towards her solving what's going on. She knows at this point. Does she know that it's Crackstone?
In regards to what?
In regards to like knowing that he's the one that caused all the issues. Well, in terms of the Pilgrim. Like, how did that?
She was fully aware that Goody was, because she had, that was another thing. I don't know if it was in this episode or the one before it. She has an episode where she does the seance and she summons Goody at one point, and like Goody like kind of shows her a little bit of the past or whatever, and then gives her like a warning about her own future, and so she's aware that Crackstone was the one that like killed the Goody and the other outsiders and or outcasts, whatever you want to call them, and so she's aware at this point that all that stuff went on.
Did you catch the reference when Morticia told her to be careful who she's speaking to, that the family members may not actually be trying to help her, or she gave kind of like a, you got to be careful. You don't really know what their intentions are.
I do remember that line, but I also remember that was a setup. I mean, that they actually did pretty well at the first episode where she gave her that necklace or that talisman, and she said it was to help her channel her powers, but then it turns out in like that final episode that it actually allows her to speak more directly with the dead, that's or at least channel the spirits. So that's what, and that Goody uses that to help revitalize her, basically.
Yeah.
Well, Morticia tells her too that Goody's a raven seer, which it's like you're doomed to have a single path, or to be single, because you're too channeled on the dark side of it.
Yeah, she did. Oh, yeah, she does tell her that. She's like, you have to be careful because that's how she phrased it. She said, being a raven, she said you're on a razor edge or whatever of falling to the dark, and like, being basically, she's wondering if she's going to become a serial killer or something, or worse if she doesn't, learn how to trust and involve herself with other people.
Yeah, which, I mean, I think that's where Enid plays a big part, and Thing.
Well, even Bianca at one point,
Yeah.
because even if they just have a rivalry, that gives her a connection to other people that she doesn't.
Yeah.
That brings her out of herself. Like, that's the worst thing for her, is to be just trapped inside of herself, and like just because her obsession would take over at that point, and she would go to the dark side, basically. I think she even says it at one point, because she says something along the lines of, if she wasn't obsessing with the criminal case, she would probably be obsessing with something else, hinting that she would probably be, killing people or something, along those lines.
She's psychotic.
And the Thing says that too, or whatever, because there's that one line or thing where she mentions something about she's obsessing with her novel, and he's like, well, you know what other people obsess, and she's like, yes, serial killers, I'm aware.
Thing is foreseeing the future. Okay, so last episode, A Murder of Woes, not as good as the rest of them, but whatever, we'll take it. I guess it'd be like A Murder of Crows.
Yeah, that's what they're going for.
Yeah.
I mean, episode wise, this one I felt like was amongst one of their better ones. I mean, but it has to be. I mean, it's going to end the show on a bad note,
A lot happened in this fucking episode. So much happened in this episode. I can't remember every detail, which we wouldn't want to discuss anyways, but we find out for sure Christina Ricci is the bad normie.
She was the Xavier's older sister, or however that family rolls out. Which you would think that he would know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand how that's an inconsistency
it's that bad
that I just now
wig.
thought of.
He was like, my sister did not have ugly hair like that.
I mean, even if he's not seen her, I mean, if you want to argue that, well, the only way that would work is if he's literally, if he was a baby whenever she was taken away, and maybe they explain that. I don't know. I didn't pay that much attention to it, but yeah, there's they reveal that about her, and then I was just like, okay, saw that coming.
She's also the monster's handler, because the monster, we find out that the monster has to have some sort of handler of sorts.
And they try to throw it off on the psychiatrist, but of course, I mean,
I totally fell for that.
But she gets ganked pretty quick right after
God.
Wednesday. It's kind of funny because this whole episode is like one of those film noirs. Like, people always think in film noirs that the detective like waits until the very end of the movie and like, you know, lays all of his pieces out on the table and then like solves the crime perfectly. But if you watch those, 9 times out of 10, they stumble and accuse the wrong person at least 3 times before the end of the movie before they finally figure it out, which is more realistic in the sense. But Wednesday does that too. She's like, okay, you're the handler. And then that person dies. And she's like, well, okay, he's the monster. And it's like, no, he's not, you know, and it's like she keeps messing up.
Oh, yeah. Which is funny because she had to find out through a kiss who the monster was, that it was her lovey boy.
I never paid this close attention. Is there never a scene where they get close? I mean, maybe it took a kiss for her to get that close to him to get that out of him because he was hiding it so deep. But like, is there not a time whenever they don't like embrace slightly to where she could have at least got something off of him that way? I could have swore there was a scene where they do and she sees something, but it's like him getting attacked by something instead.
You know what? I don't remember.
No, it was a kid getting attacked by the cave.
Yes. Okay.
And that's what she throws in at the end. She's like, that's how you know, yeah. But that's what throws her off. She doesn't realize that what she's seeing it from Eugene's perspective, and she's not realizing that the reason she sees that is because he was the monster attacking Eugene, and that's why she saw it. That's what it was.
Okay, that makes sense. Wednesday lands in trouble with Principal Weems, which that happened like every fucking episode.
Yeah, that's not telling you anything. Although she does. This is the episode where finally, I mean, it's kind of funny. It's like one of those parents. It's like, you do this one more time, I swear to God.
Yeah.
You do this one more time, I swear to God. This episode, she's like, you're out, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, you're gone.
And she's disappointed. She wanted things to work out for Wednesday, and that was hard.
I don't know. I mean, I
was
guess.
Was that a Bahaha that you were drinking?
No, it was I did have one this morning, but that was water out of the cup that I had, basically.
Okay.
But I feel like, I don't know, Principal Weems, I feel like had a contentious relationship with Wednesday. Like, she could say that she wanted her to do well, but I always got the vibe, and if this was intended or not, I feel like it was, that she hated Wednesday because of the rivalry that she had with Morticia.
Yes, I thought the same thing too.
Okay. I'm just making sure that because it was almost like she was holding like Morticia's behavior against, and the fact that if I remember right, Morticia stole Gomez away from from Weems, and she was holding that against her too.
I would have loved to seen just one romantic scene between Gomez and Lady Dimitrescu.
You think she
him
would
standing on his tiptoes just to kiss her?
Would you think he would that she would just turn into Morticia?
Yeah, she's a shapeshifter.
Oh yeah, because that's something that they now that makes me mad because they underutilized her shapeshifting. They only did it like in 2 episodes. Like they threw out the thing that she was shapeshifting into the kid who was supposed to have died or whatever to throw everybody off of that, which is a whole weird thing in of itself. I mean, if I guess I get it from the point of view that she was wanting to get the attention away from the school. As far as the police goes, but at the same time, I mean, like, how rotten is that she was hiding it from the parents too? That like, their kid was dead.
The parents were aware of it. She reached out to the dad, and to save face for the school and for the kid, they spun it like that.
Okay.
Oh yeah, to make him not look like a bad person.
Yeah.
But anyways, I mean, there were so many other opportunities that she could have. I mean, and they were throwing out the red herring that she was the monster too because she could shapeshift. But I mean, I felt like that maybe held sway with me for like half an episode, and I was like, no, this doesn't fit like the way they're portraying her. But anyways, there were so many other opportunities they could have used that shape shifting, and they just didn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for her to infiltrate the student body and to figure out what the kids were doing. She could have pretended to be a student through the semester.
Yeah, I didn't even think
Oh,
about that. She was way
That would have been a great
underutilized.
storyline. Like there was some random kid that kept being in like the back. I mean, it would have been better like the back scenes, and like you kept noticing her if you paid attention. But like it was never called out visually. They didn't focus on the kid or anything, but they were always in a scene. And it turns out it was Weems like keeping tabs on her the entire time.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there we are. Wednesday getting in trouble with Principal Weems. I wouldn't even call it getting in trouble with Weems. She got expelled. But that's just the start of her problems. She has to fight an ancient evil, but to do so, she's going to need all of her quotation mark friends' help.
These bunch of pussies. One's a siren, one's a werewolf, another one's vampire, and they all, oh, you're going to kill somebody? That's way too much.
Well, here's something else too, and I don't know what that. I mean, now that I think about this, is pissing me off. This is the problem you have whenever you have supernatural creatures, and they're considered the protagonists. When they're the villains, you can kind of like drum down their powers a little bit in order for to give a little bit of plot armor to the to the main to the hero. But when you're making the bad guy or the monsters the heroes, like they should be using their powers to their full extent. Why did Bianca never once use her siren powers to try to figure out who the killer was by forcing confessions from people?
Oh my God. Because I know for a fact
I know they threw out there that she didn't want to be like her mother and use her power, but
Yes.
that's a bullshit reason.
It is, and I guess she got burned using her powers against Xavier or on Xavier, and it kind of made her. I don't know, because she still used
That was
them.
different. She was forcing him to love her.
Well, then I think that's what kind of threw her off. But did she use
There's
them?
someone murdering the school faculty or the kids, and that's above using your powers?
That's what I'm saying. Like if
Wait. Who had died up until this point that she cared about? Bianca.
Well, she cared about the school, so there's that because she was hiding at the school.
Yeah, she's hiding at the school.
Yeah.
So you'd have a vested interest in making sure the school doesn't
So
go.
how many people at the school had died?
Well,
They don't know
here's-
that kid died because he, quotation mark, left. That was Weems.
I know, but if people in the town are getting murdered, it draws a lot of attention to the school.
Yeah, out of self-preservation, if nothing else, she would have wanted to solve the crimes. Not to mention the fact that they did give her a slight connection to the mayor's son, and when the mayor's son, she saw, and she was very emotionally impacted by the fact that he was, how tore up he was at his dad's funeral. So
Yeah.
that right there would have gave her a reason to start, snapping her powers out at people and like, are you the killer? Confess.
It's pretty late
like,
on in the show, and I think that's when she started turning. But she had a slow turn because for the longest,
But she tricked the entire school to making her think she was a student.
that is true.
Okay, so like there's a giant gap there.
Huh. But she also gave the impression in the show that she really only cared about herself. I mean, because she did. She did all this for
I know,
herself.
but that is self-preservation. If the school is drawing a lot of attention from the town, from people getting murdered,
Yeah.
it's going to draw attention to where you're hiding at.
Because the show
and
is
she,
called
and
Wednesday.
she still is a monster that could possibly get, I mean, in major trouble if the local town turns into a fucking mob of pitchforks and everything else and comes after them.
Yeah, she only uses her powers once, and that's when they think she's getting Tyler. When she's like, "You're coming with us,"
Now, the one thing I can give them in defense against, I mean, she's the only one character that I can think of offhand that should have used her powers and could have been able to solve this quicker. But I mean, because werewolves in theory have heightened senses, so they could have smelled something different, but they don't show that in this show. So I can't hold that against them.
Yeah,
Although,
and she didn't wuss out yet, so she didn't wuss out till late, so she wouldn't have been able to smell it.
But there were other werewolves there besides
That
her.
is
I
true.
mean,
But did they care? I don't know.
Well-
Not just other werewolves, there's other sirens, there's other vampires. You have a litany of different creatures.
Yeah, I just feel like, I mean, that's the problem you run into with this show if you start really breaking down like the potential for solving these murders, that they're individual. Because I mean, anytime that you have a hero character, they always use the utmost of their abilities to get, I mean, Wednesday does. I mean,
Yeah.
she uses every single thing at her disposal to figure this out, but she's just a normal person, albeit with a little bit of psychic, powers and a really fucked up personality. But I mean, she is, just a regular person. Whereas you got all these monsters with heightened senses and abilities, they should have fucking been doing more than just being sitting ducks. If nothing else, all these creatures are supposed to be predatory by all accounts, and they would have not sat there and just watched themselves get picked off one by one.
Yeah,
Even the
that's
shapeshifter, the school principal, wherever she is, that has a giant vested interest in upholding the school, didn't use her powers to do any sleuthing about figuring anything out.
No,
and hired
was...
hired that normie girl, aka Christina Ricci, with no one had any intuition on this not being no background. Oh, I don't know. I mean, because you would think if you're hiring a normie at a school like that there's an extensive background check of what you're into that makes you qualified to be at that school.
What's
that
your
these
motives?
kids aren't going to. Well, yeah, motives, and not only that, like how do you relate to these kids, and how do we know these kids aren't going to fucking murder you and stuff you in a closet?
Yeah, I mean, you would have to. I mean, if nothing else, I mean, especially if you're hiring from normies, they've had a whole history of nothing but normies just destroying their kind for, centuries, if not longer. I mean, I don't know how long these monsters have existed, but you assume millennia at this point, and they're not going to be just like, oh, okay, this random normie wants to come work at our school. Like, they're going to get a super background check.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the person doing the background check can turn into whoever she wants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I just hate that I thought about that now.
Yeah,
but
we're all
yeah,
pondering on this, like, fucking son of a bitch.
Giant
Okay.
pothole.
So here's what we have in this final episode. We have Wednesday knowing who the murderous monster is. We also have her getting kicked out of the school, which kind of takes away from her abilities to really. She's got to be. She's supposed to be leaving, so she really can't do much more to solve the case. So we think. We have Christina Ricci, who's the bad guy, who is conjuring up Crackstone to get him to end basically the school. He needs to put the school to an end because they want to get rid of all the abnormies. I don't know.
No,
What are they called?
Kill all the
outcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing, well, and that's a whole woke thing too. I mean, if you want to mention that, because I mean, they're supposed to be the outcasts from normal society, and people want to kill them because they're different. Blah blah. But but at least that was more subtly done than some of the other woke things in the show. But I got the hint from Crackstone once he actually gets summoned, which let's discuss that real quick. What y'all think of the makeup effects for that character? Like, I mean, it was okay.
He was giving me Leprechaun vibes.
Yeah, that's what I was getting. Very heavy.
I mean, he had the hat and everything.
I kind of got the vibe from him that he was almost. It was almost like, and maybe this is because, and we discussed this off air, Sleepy Hollow as a reference. The TV show. I was almost getting like apocalyptic vibes from him. Like now that he was brought back, he wouldn't just stop with Outcast. He would like his weird brand of religious fervor would go on to like kill everyone who didn't like fit his ideas of what a proper person should be. Which in modern society, as we discussed with Psycho, would probably be all of us dead.
Oh my God, we're all heathens. You smile, you dance. Thou'st enjoyest butter?
Thou showest more than an ankle? Dead.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so Crackstone was, I mean, he definitely was, he was evil, but he was the worst kind of evil because he thought he was the good,
Yeah, he's that classic, well, all villains believe they're in the right. I mean, but but the ones who believe it with, like almost a religious type, mentality are the scariest because they don't, they don't even question their motives. Like, some of the best villains are like, am I doing, maybe I'm, but then they still choose to do it because they think it's for the betterment of whatever they're trying to pursue. But like, no, he's just straight on. He's like, no, I'm completely a good guy. You're all fucking evil and deserve to burn in hell.
Yeah, he was kind of funny. He was kind of laughable, scary. I did crack up when he was like, "Shut the fuck up" to Christina.
Yeah. He
When
just
she-
tells her to leave and go out.
And she's like, "So
Um,
much for reviving your heroes."
I didn't really see the point of killing Wednesday necessarily at the point they did, just to have Goody like bring
Oh,
her
yeah.
back. I mean, it was a good callback to the necklace, like I said, but at the same time, it kind of felt like superfluous. Like there's no real reason for that scene. Just have it to where like maybe she was maimed, but like not like killed, and then maybe like she drug her like maimed ass back to the school, and you could still have the heroic moment, and that's
Yeah.
probably even more heroic in my mind because like she struggled through the pain of being just, I mean, like a normal person, like just but like on the verge of passing out from blood loss or whatever, just to come
Yeah,
back.
but they're at the final fight scene, so she had to get a Senzu bean somehow.
she had to go Super Saiyan. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, she had to be at top-notch fighting ability. So you got to cure all the damage. She got hit by a shovel, got stabbed.
But I mean,
Uh,
well, when all that happened, let's be honest, nobody was sitting there like, "Oh no, Wednesday's dead."
Oh,
Like,
nobody thought
Nobody
that.
thought
It's
that. They were like,
you're-
"Okay, well, how's she gonna get revived?"
Yeah,
Like-
it had no impact on the show, and that's probably the worst part about it, just because nobody believed that they were going to kill her that way. And the scene with Thing held more weight for me because
Yeah.
I was like, they could kill him off easily, and that would be awful at this point. But yeah,
And not only that, but okay, so did Goody have to be inside of Wednesday to help her also fight?
She wasn't inside her.
I thought she went. She did go.
she
inside.
said something about she makes a line to her about she has to pass through her. But I was
Okay.
just there thinking, I was like, why couldn't she do that without the towel? I mean, it's magic. You can say what you want, and
It's a
put
one to
limitations
break
on
in case
it.
of
but-
emergency. You get a one. It's a one-time use. I can heal you, but we can never interact again.
Oh yeah.
Oh, she does say that to her. She's like, "You'll never see me again." Yeah, that's
Like,
that's
okay,
what she
cool.
says.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Next. Okay.
But, they get through all that stuff, and then the school gets set on fire, but then it like gets put out super quick. I don't understand that either. They should have more ramifications from like literally a napalm explosion, what it looks like going off.
Oh
But-
yeah.
and
Like
then-
nothing gets damaged. Like the main portion of the school is like still intact. They're all
How
saying
about
bye to
this
each
one?
other.
If you look at the grass, none of it's burnt.
There's nothing burned. I don't even think like.
Yeah, I didn't see anything. I didn't see
there's-
any.
There's
It's
no
really,
wood that's got any burnt marks on it or anything.
But not only that, but it's really hard to burn concrete and stone. It takes a lot of energy. But the fact that the grass isn't burnt, how about that
That's
one?
That's well, and it's something else. Some of those people that were close to it should have at least had their eyebrows singed off. If you're not going to give them any other bits of damage or whatever.
How could
'Cause
their
there were
eyebrows
a
get
few
singed?
students
They
that were
all
close to the heat
ran.
blast.
It feels like they all ran for their lives. Nobody did anything to step up. All these super beings, if you will, were like,
Well,
nope.
but that's the one thing that kills me about and the plot hole with Bianca was because she used her power to get people to leave. She's like, you have to go now, basically hijacking
Oh
their
yeah,
mind.
okay,
And it's like, where was this energy before now?
yeah.
I mean, jeez.
Oh God.
Just unraveling the storyline at a rapid pace.
What else are we missing from this final episode? We get so
I mean, we can talk about the resolution at the end of it, but I mean, up to that point, there was a whole thing. I did like this scene with Tyler where, like, he portrays, I mean, he's been, they come in there just the right time to see that he's been like tortured. This might've been the episode.
Oh,
before,
yeah.
one
No.
of the two. And I think it was this episode. And then like they're at the police station and he's like, I forgive her, Dad, but I want to say one more thing to her. And it's like, Dad's like, whatever, this is fucking stupid, but go talk to her. And he comes over just to give her that like evil moment. It's like, I've known the entire fucking time, and now you have no way of doing any fucking thing to me. So, checkmate, bitch. It's basically what the line was like. And it was like, okay, I liked how the actor did the portrayal of that, because it was a definite change in his personality on the show.
Oh yeah, I thought that was a pretty good scene.
I thought that was a good scene, yeah. But I was confused because she had two adults with her at the moment, the cop, and I know he just kind of walked away like whatever because his son wanted to talk to her. But where was Lady Dimitrescu? She just disappeared. Like, you didn't even see her walk away. Like, okay, Wednesday, I'll meet you at the car. She was adamant on, I better stay with this bitch because she keeps fucking slipping.
She was in the office with the sheriff.
I guess
she was
so.
in the office, yeah. But yeah, she should have shape shifted and been like a one of the rando cops that were in the background at that point.
Yeah. She does shapeshift for good finally in this episode. It's where she actually does shapeshift into Tyler, not the monster. And what is Christina Ricci's character's name again?
Marilyn Thornhill.
Mrs. Thornhill, if you will, thinks that she's trying to command him. Shut up. She's trying to command him to attack Wednesday, and it's not happening. And it's because it's not him. It is Lady Dimitrescu.
But then she gets taken out like a punk-ass bitch.
Yeah, this lady who does a towering monster of a woman compared to Christina Ricci doesn't put up any type of fight.
Not at all. That was insane.
And this is a lady who went to the school, took fencing, all these underhanded things of understanding poison and people's like intent. You're in a questionable situation with this individual. You just got done hearing them lay out that they are the culprit, and you don't put up one fight when she just stabs you.
And might I remind you that she knows she's teaching about the plants and would know that she would have some kind of poisonous thing at her, disposal. I mean, if she was that bad of a principal that she didn't know that Thornhill was teaching about carnivorous plants and nightshade and all that, then, I mean, that's like Dumbledore saying, fuck it, Snape, go in there and just, do whatever you're going to do in the class. I'm just going to peace out for a bit. And then if the kids get, start using dark magic, then I guess I'm just a dumb shit.
Oh, my
like
God.
that.
So, yeah, we see her go out, which was, I really would have liked to seen her in more like seasons that allegedly are supposed to be coming.
They can bring her back, but like the younger version of her is what they'll do. Like if they have more scenes of like Morticia and Gomez and hers, like, relationship and Nevermore, because what they'll probably do with this show, if the way that I'm seeing it, is that they're going to keep flashing back to the stuff that was there, like they're going to probably bring stories from the school out, like, things that have went on that were like little mysteries that nobody ever solved or whatever. And so, and some of those could still involve like, the Adams and her relationship. So there's more that can come out of that, but it'll be the younger version of her.
I would have liked it, and I would have thought it would have been really hilarious to see them carry her coffin, and it's just like this massive coffin. It takes like 15 guys to
well, if you're going to have a larger woman like her playing that part, what they should have done is, I mean, they should have shown her being more physical. I mean, yes, that is a stereotype, but I mean, a large framed individual is going to have some more strength and power to them than, Christina Ricci at 5'2" or whatever she stands at.
But think about that scene. How high did Christina Ricci have to get up to get to her neck?
Even if she was standing on hills, she would have had to been on her tippy toes to get up there. That's, I mean,
I don't know.
This is how the scene should have played. She should have been in a white dress with a huge black rimmed hat, really low cut dress. She could have either stepped on Christina Ricci, or when she grabbed Christina Ricci with her hand, like Lady Dimitrescu, then Christina Ricci could have threw the poison at her titties.
Or you could have did a scene where Christina Ricci tried to run away. She grabs her.
Yeah.
And while she's grabbing her, then she gets stabbed.
Yes.
That's what you should have done. You should have shown
because it sets it up for
in
close
a physical
contact.
altercation with her, getting the upper hand, and then right at the last second when you think she's going to win, that's whenever she gets stabbed, because they're in closer proximity at that point, and it's easier for Christina Ricci's character Thornhill to be able to suddenly have that syringe in her hand, and out of nowhere, like she gets, and it wouldn't even have to be in the neck. I mean, if it's that kind of poison, it could have been femoral artery, anything, and it would have worked.
Leg, femoral artery.
Yeah. And then she could have fell on top of Christina Ricci, and Christina Ricci would have gotten motorboated to death.
Really?
So you think, but she makes it out of the titty grab and comes and tries to help the Pilgrim kill Wednesday. I don't know.
There's definitely, I mean, they cheaped out on that scene. I don't know why, but that was a very bad utilization of her, after we've already discussed the fact that her, they could have used her shape-shifting powers to better use throughout the entire season.
So now that we've torn
Basically
this
destroyed
fucking
the show.
season apart, basically ripped it apart.
First thing you gotta do, you gotta build it up, then you gotta knock it the fuck down.
Well, you can, I mean, that's a good critique, though. I mean, when you're doing like a critical review of something, you can appreciate like different aspects of it. The visuals, I love the aesthetics of the show. I love the fact that even like, the room they've got Wednesday in with that big, which, I mean, I don't know how it's always like in Friends, like you get these characters that are in these huge, apartments that they're, they would never be in, but whatever. But it's got that huge, window there, that stained glass window that she takes all the colors out of. So that and it's like you can see the differences between her and Enid, like clearly divided in the room. Like all the visual stuff was great, like the acting, by some of the principals like Ortega, Thing. We talked about Fester. There were even Gwendolyn Christie, with what they gave her, did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I loved her on screen.
But the plot, I mean, there are problems with the plot in this show. I mean, you can't get around it.
Now, Tim Burton didn't write the show. He's just the director.
I don't think he did direct or write any of them, and I think that it was written by several different people, too. Yes. And so that's an issue. I mean, I don't know who directed what necessarily, wrote what, but I think Millar did a lot of it. And then like they got Montero or whatever her name is to do a couple of episodes, if I remember right. But like there are, different people writing the show. Yeah.
Ganja Montero was one of the directors. She's not listed as a writer. But I wonder how Tim Burton, so there's no denying that the show's a hit. It has broken all records on Netflix currently of the most watched show, the fastest ever too, to have so many hours being watched, and people are rewatching it. People are rewatching it 2 or 3 times. I wonder how Tim Burton feels. I don't know that he watches his shows like I listen to the episodes and like critiques himself. And he's like, man, this could have done this or this. I wonder if he's going to give any more writing tips moving forward if this continues to be a thing. Now, some people are convinced this is going to go for another 3 or 4 episodes, and I know that they don't usually contract for more than another season or 2. I'm sorry, I said episodes. I meant seasons. Usually they don't do a contract for more than 2 seasons ahead of time, but
it's at least going to get one more because Netflix, it's streaming as well, or actually better, I think, than season 4 of Stranger Things, and that was the best that Netflix had ever done up to this point. So it's definitely up there, and there's no way they're not going to do a follow-up season.
Yeah, there's no way. And if Tim Burton's available, fuck, awesome,
but what they're going to have to do, I mean, that's one thing at the end when they're resolving everything in this season. When they're sending Wednesday away, she's going back home because they're shutting down the school after the principal was killed and everything else. So they're going on a hiatus, and maybe the next season can have a few episodes at the Addams family residence before they actually go back to the school. I hope that's what they do with the difference. But they do set up the fact that Tyler is not, he's going to come back.
Yeah, he's not dead.
He's breaking loose.
That was actually kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't. The monster looks. I mean, talking about that though, I don't know what I feel about the monster. I like it and I hate it at the same time because it's super goofy looking, but it's also a Tim Burton-y thing. And
It's
it
a
fits.
very Tim Burton monster. I mean, I sent you guys the snake from Beetlejuice immediately.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my god, this is the monster. This is his face. You know?
I didn't really pick up on that. I picked up on the idea that it's the idea of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like
Oh yeah, it
when
is.
when you take the potion, it twists you like your face. You get all crazy and psychotic looking.
And that's something I felt like I got in like the last few minutes of the show, even if I did kind of suspect they were going that route with Tyler. When I thought about it, I was like, yeah, that monster does look like an exaggerated like version of Tyler. Now that I think back on how the character looked, I mean, it's the face when he starts morphing at the end of it and it starts coming out. I'm like, yeah, I should have picked up on this before now. Like, I mean, if you're linking that face to anybody else, it fits his the best.
Who's that? I'm trying to think of the actor's name. You remember the movie City Slickers? In the main cowboy. Trying to think of his
Billy
name.
Crystal,
No, the
Jack
actual.
Palance.
Yes. So
Yeah.
there's a movie Jack Palance did. It was a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde movie from like I want to say late 60s, early 70s. That's hella good. Really good Dr. Jekyll movie. I don't know if you ever seen it. That's an awesome one.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it was in the era where they're just transitioning over to into color, and they hadn't quite got the undertones for the filters right. So it has that weird kind of look to it.
Oversaturated.
Yes, but it's an awesome
Yeah.
movie. It's a hell good Dr. Jekyll movie.
I could see that. He was also in like, I mean, this is a total tangent, but he was also in like an alien type movie or whatever, like in I want to say the late 70s, early 80s that is not a lot of people knows about. Because they always think of him as like a Western type character.
Oh, yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
because of, City Slickers.
We
Oh
did
my
such a good job in there. I shit bigger than you.
I don't know how I like the fact they brought him back for part 2 and then played his twin brother.
Yeah.
That was kind of a
Oh.
cop out,
That
but
was a
whatever.
little bit, yeah. The first movie was so good that it's just like, you guys didn't have to hash this again.
So
Uh,
we should probably start wrapping this one up. But what did we think about the show overall? I think should we roll into ratings? Do we have any
Yeah.
trivia we want? Wait, do we have any trivia? We kind of discussed it. We mingled
we
it in, huh?
discussed as we went.
Okay.
That's all I know about it as far as trivia. I mean, but to my knowledge, and I've not looked back on this, there are a ton of callbacks to either former Addams Family stuff or
Oh, yeah.
former Tim Burton stuff. So if you want to look hard enough, you can find all kinds of callbacks, and some of them are musical. But I did want to throw that out there. I did like some of the musical choices in the show.
Oh, I
thought
did
that,
too.
Like the cello versions of rock songs were pretty good.
Yeah, I think. I mean, it goes without saying that Danny Elfman knocked it out of the park, and it was different, as we had previously said. It was new, it was refreshing, but it still was so good. Sometimes you get artists that try new things and it doesn't work out, and that's just not the case with Danny Elfman,
Yeah,
as shown.
Well, they all the great composers like for movies all have their own style, and you hear them and instantly, like John Williams. Like
Yeah.
I mean, even though they're drastically different between like Star Wars and Superman, when you listen to those themes, you get enough of the sound being like in the same range and everything else. You're like, okay, that's a John Williams score, and Danny Elfman's definitely of that ilk because like his stuff is for the most part. It's
Yeah.
like you hear it and it's like some variation of either Beetlejuice or Batman. It's like one of the two. But
Yeah, and when I was listening to this, I was like, I expected Danny Elfman to be the composer, but I questioned whether it was Danny Elfman. I was like, is this Danny Elfman? I had to Google and check, so it wasn't like, oh yeah, this is for sure him,
I was actually surprised when I saw his name attached to it. I don't know why I was surprised, but I guess because I didn't pick up enough of the Elfman sound for it to really trigger my mind on that.
And it is a compliment, so it's not anything against him at all. So we talked about the look of the show, we talked about the acting, we talked about the music.
Yeah, I don't think we've really missed anything as far as the discussion of the show. I mean, I think we've kind of covered it all. Hopefully, at this point, we have.
All right, so overall, what are we scoring the show?
I was going to give it a 4, but I think because we've discussed these plot holes, I'm going to have to take it down like 3.7 or something. I mean, I love it for a lot of what it does, but those plot holes, when you start thinking about them, man, this show unravels quick. It's like, a moth-eaten sweater that you got out of your grandma's house, and you put it on, and it seems fine at first, and then the first time it gets washed, it's gone.
Your titties are out. Babe?
Same with him. Like I originally had like almost a 4.5, and the more we kind of talked about it, the more I thought about it. I was like, that sounds like a 3.5.
Okay. I mean, it was a high up there for me. It wasn't a 5, but it wasn't a 4 either. So it would have been a 4.5 or 4.8, honestly, for me. It's high up there. I obviously enjoyed it. I like quirkier stuff and goofy things. It had enough of that, but I think Jenna Ortega she's just she did such a good job as Wednesday. She's
almost entirely my 3.6.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even joking when I say that.
Well, it's Wednesday. It's about her, and
but the plot holes make it hard to overlook it.
Yeah, the show works in spite of the story that they've presented.
Yes, it does, which is that's great. And I don't know, I'm just hoping that maybe Tim Burton gets a little bit more involved with the writing, or maybe he'll take the writing in a different direction.
If they can tighten up the narrative, they've got a hit on their hands.
Yes.
I mean, I'm back for season 2, but they're going to have a tighter narrative than what they presented in this season.
It's going to turn into a teeny bopper show if they're not careful.
Yeah, it was on the verge of that.
Yes, and Wednesday is not a teeny bopper. I know everyone wants her to be nice and friendly, and she's not.
It's super close to a CW show right now. They need to.
That's the comparison everyone keeps making.
They need to switch it off of that.
Yeah, but it was a 4 for me. I am giving it the 4. I mean, it was completely enjoyable. I would absolutely watch the show again.
You know what would make it awesome if they came back the next season and they just went full kilter into all the animal, like the powers that everything has, and they just made it gory. Like, really just went hard in it.
I mean, Tim Burton doesn't do super gore.
You don't got to do a lot of blood then, but
yeah.
I mean, there's arms getting ripped off and people getting murdered.
He does.
What would make an interesting season is if somebody who hated the school found some kind of thing that triggered the monsters to powers to make them like mindless creatures, and then Wednesday's like, not only is she trapped in this like hellhole of these creatures that are trying to maybe possibly kill her. I mean, it doesn't even have to be she would have to probably get out of the school, or she'd be, you'd have a hard time explaining how she survived in that situation. But like, she's trying to save her friends who are not in control of themselves. And she's trying to figure out who's doing that and how they're doing it. I think that'd make a good season.
And then they could give the narrative of My Body, My Choice.
Well, they technically could. You're right.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it goes without saying we enjoyed it. It has plot holes. Despite those, you can definitely enjoy Wednesday. Definitely give it a watch. Don't just go on TikTok and see the dance and be like, "This is amazing." Give it a whirl. I think people will like it and maybe have their own opinions on what could or could not be done, but also goes without saying, we're going to come back for it and give it another whirl when they announce season 2, which they haven't yet. They're going to keep us on our toes. I'm sure they got to get the green light still, but it's probably going to happen.
There's no way they're passing this up. This is one of the few things they've had that's been like a major hit in forever. So they can't afford to go back on this one. And with the popularity just in social media right now, they've got to be like, knocking down his door right at this exact moment saying, get on it and quick. We need a turnaround on this thing, which is going to be bad because that's going to probably affect the plot. But I mean, they're going to be demanding it.
Yeah. And not only that, if you're going to be pumping out seasons, these kids are growing up. I mean, they're not even kids. These full grown adults.
They're going to start having,
but that's going to work in their favor.
And
one is almost in his 30s.
I know, but it will actually work in their favor because they're in a spot now where you're not going to see giant aging drastics. Like if they were younger, you'd see giant changes. But now they're kind of stable, so they can kind of pump out a season or two before you start seeing the age is starting to ripple in.
Yeah. So
seeing the crow's feet at the edge of their eyes or whatever starts happening. Yeah.
You mean the woe's feet?
Oh my God.
Okay, I'll cut it off here.
And
Horrible.
with that, peace be with you.
And with your spirit.